My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, you will see in the images the impossible light activity that is shooting through the peephole, that is shooting underneath the covered patio into the living room on the floor where my flip-flops are. It's impossible light activity. That's impossible light activity on this door. And somebody that's engaged in surveillance, stalking in the path with light activity, flashing light, and they will see in the pictures that I take, the moment that I open the door, that's when the demon that's monitoring a sex offender, monitoring my genitalia as well, engaging in the state's pattern of conduct with an entire city of stalkers who are demon-possessed, 8YPU797 is engaging in the P.O.C. All right, and delivering to a demon is the pattern of conduct, while a fake sun that's been over Alvarado Gardens today in 2024 as a matter of video documentation. Uber Eats is a documented gang stalker, and that's what they're doing. They're engaged in the P.O.C. 7YEH777, that's the demon in unit number 43. She's going to prison. She's engaged in surveillance in the parking lot with those that come onto the property to engage in the P.O.C. with the population and the state that's flying over my head in aircraft right now. That's the pattern. That's why she's going to prison. They're engaged in 24-hour surveillance while the government uses AVANATH capital management's property and the sky space, and the people, the entity itself, comes onto the grounds to engage in making money while engaged in domestic terrorism. This is all in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And the entity is doing so while the fake sun is today. This is light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity, and it's also malice. Impossible light across the car she's monitoring. All right, and this is an overweight demon that walks around in a walker, and she's going to prison. Okay, she could pace around in her cell. Impossible light monitoring. License 8YPU797, federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. The impossible light activity that's moving across the brick wall, that's impunity by a sex offender who is going to prison. All right, this is the P.O.C. that the Ontario Police Department encourage and are engaging in right now through a population. The Ontario Police Department represents the state. On this day, the Los Angeles Police Department were gang stalking under a fake sun that remained over Alvarado Gardens at 18 to 1800 North Alvarado Street as a matter of video documentation. 9 o'clock in the morning over my head at building 1810, and also at after 4 p.m. And the entity at 1:43 p.m. is gang stalking while I'm documenting this impossible occurrence where you see the fake sun rising and setting here. 8YPU797 gets out to make their delivery while engaging in prolonged surveillance and light activity with the government. 8YPU797. This is P.O.C. This is a sex offender, and this is the entity that comes on worshiping my genitalia as I'm sleeping, as I'm moving, as I'm in the kitchen, and the demons are gang stalking together. That's a sex offense. That's the P.O.C. That's the perpetual sex offense that a government is committing through those that live because they live here, maintaining presence with the entity that comes onto the grounds and in the sky. They're all going to prison. Okay, that's P.O.C. and this is AVANATH Capital Management. This is sunlight. No, that's not sunlight. Okay, and here's my shadow down here as well. That's the malice of a demon that comes and delivers food to another demon, where the elements of monitoring are underway. And these are all stalkers. Living at a crime scene is the basis of federal prison. They're also sex offenders monitoring one's genitalia together. And sunlight doesn't pierce through a peephole, and there is no sunlight that's going to be over any of this while it's over Alvarado Gardens, which is what the video documentation today in 2024 shows. But sunlight doesn't ricochet off of objects, creating a shadow, nor does it pierce through peepholes, and nor do the people of the state, because that's what they are, ignorantly maintain presence and engage in what is conduct such as driving your car and your light moving all across the brick wall. That's what the demons at Alvarado Gardens did as well. That's what the demons emptying the garbage like Universal Waste do as well in Los Angeles. A matter of video documentation under a fake sun that goes back to be over the same building. Okay, this is a P.O.C. That's the entity that is knowingly, intentionally, and deliberately continuously violating the Violence Against Women Act. They're all losing housing benefits. This entire property is going to be prosecuted. And the demons in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison as you're witnessing the impunity. Okay? P.O.C. It is currently, so you can see what I took images of. This is engineer light that's piercing through the apartment, and the demon that was operating an Uber vehicle is monitoring everything that I'm taking pictures of, and is with perfect timing as I'm capturing images of the fake sun and opening the front door. This demon is anticipating, and he's walking out to make this delivery, which is crossing path with me. He's monitoring under a fake sun, which is what I'm doing, and still images. So just want to document that. This is means for what every business, including AVANATH Capital Management, is engaged in. A corrupt gang stalking landlord that is profiting while domestic terrorism and criminal surveillance is underway, and they have the audacity to make their pockets are going to be drained regarding all the profits that they made while they're threatening my life and acting in concert with the government and a population in furtherance of murder and kidnapping me. And it's a violent sex offense while a company commits it. It's federal stalking under existing federal law while a company practices it, and it's a violation of the Violence Against Women Act over this HUD regulated property, where AVANATH is going to be removed from participating in federal housing programs, and everybody living at Woodside Senior Apartments, all 144 units, are losing such housing benefits as they act with impunity. One demon engaging in what is the maintenance of elements of monitoring in concert with the demon that flew over my head in plane, the demon that's delivering Uber Eats to another demon, crossing path light activity in doing so, and impossible light activity across the brick wall. That's impunity and malice by the entire entity while I'm surrounded by engineer light on the inside. That's P.O.C. It is currently, again, 1:17 p.m. 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. This is the P.O.C. This is video documentation, which as I've explained before, I use specifically screen recordings. Number one, to show the transparency regarding what it is that I'm exposing and how clearly you yourself can look at evidence that I have provided, and you can even compare it to the area, to the location, to the environment that you're surrounded by, because it is that which defies nature. And as you will pay attention, you'll see it's very idiotic. It defies common sense. And this is what we're surrounded by while you are aware of the vitality regarding recognition of an environment and what's happening, the people that are in that environment, and what the people in that environment are doing together, not individually, not just as some sort of anomaly. And by the way, the fact that I have what is a body of evidence speaking to an identical code of conduct, a pattern of conduct, a behavioral pattern. You have what is a common scheme amongst what are even strangers. But what they are all tied to is the environment that is recognizing the pattern, the environment that the individuals that are collectively an entity are engaging in, and also an identical behavioral pattern. And this is the pattern of conduct of what is recognizing stalking. And it is stalking by a government that is demonic at its core. And it's also demonic on its face because you are able to see the specific environment. The environment that I'm showing you defies nature. That's the demonic environment where stalking is underway. And the entity that is stalking someone does so conspicuously right in their face. Now, the ordinary target individual isn't typically armed with any evidence. And so what you'll see, as you can imagine, someone that's making it is baseless because you don't have evidence, baseless allegations about people that you don't know following you around, stalking you, targeting you. is designed to make someone appear as though they're hallucinating, that they're paranoid, bipolar, you call it whatever you want to call it. The entity is engaging in what is criminal defamation. This is a very real crime that the government is engaged in. And now that I have passed the threshold regarding proving it, now you're able to see what is the national security threat regarding what surrounds you, because the demon possessed are not only engaged in hunting down human beings that are not demon possessed like them. They know who you are. This is that which is of the spiritual realm. These are the demon possessed. Satan, who is a spirit, is using people who have his spirit in them, and they know who you are, who do not have Satan's spirit in you. You become a target, and your life is that which they obsess over. And this is, again, if you go back to who Satan is a spirit, and Satan is also a control freak and is obsessed with wanting to be God. And those who walk with God, and I'm being very specific, Christ Jesus himself, filled with the Holy Spirit, Satan knows exactly who you are, and you become a target. Now, when you're dealing with lawlessness, when you're dealing with criminals and murderers and stalkers and obsessed and demented mind states, they are also a threat to each other. So you absolutely have those who are killing each other and harming each other, especially when it becomes something that behooves them for whatever reason. So you don't have safety because they're all demons and they're targeting the kingdom of God, those who walk with Christ. They are also a threat to each other. Okay. And there are plenty of people that don't know Christ who are a target of this system that's embedded in society in the state of California. It's embedded. Okay, so this is an organized crime of murdering folks, kidnapping them, and then making it look like some mysterious crime that the police are investigating or that the police are unsure about, or even the police solved an innocent person taking the rap for that which they didn't commit, et cetera, et cetera. It takes many, many forms. All right. But it is essentially a game of cops and robbers. The police in the state of California are not engaged in actual legitimate law enforcement. They are engaged in a system of domestic terrorism, and they are demon possessed. Okay. And they are acting in concert with a population that is demon possessed. In the natural, you're looking at what are parties that would on the surface, and they're supposed to appear as though they have conflicting interests. The police, who have the authority, again, exercising fictitious authority in the reality, but let's exercise their illusion, the way that they're operating. I'm going to prosecute the state of California based on reality, not the system where they're existing in an illusion, where they don't have any constitutional rights because they're stalking. It's not lawful surveillance. They don't even have a right to be on the sidewalk, which is legally referred to as public property. It's a facilitating venue where they're stalking, and they're stalking conspicuously to psychologically torture and gang stalk American citizens, whom they do so in concert with an entire population in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping that person. So they're exercising authority that is an entire illusion, exploiting the Constitution and the constitutional rights of both an American citizen like myself, not the people of the state, who are maliciously appearing as though they are in a substantially similar position as me under the law, and they're not. They're gang stalkers, they're demons, and they are legally referred to, they're terrorists, they're domestic terrorists. So this is the same with the government that's engaged in domestic terrorism and calling it a day's work with the police. Okay, calling it, again, an ordinary day of work at the airport, where airports in the state of California are used for aerial surveillance of a criminal nature amongst American citizens whom they're targeting. And they are targeting an American citizen who is not ignorant about it. And the state of California has the audacity, and it's a matter of evidence for the world to witness what is the true attitude of the state government in California toward the Constitution, toward Americans who enforce their rights. When they have been exposed as being on the wrong side of the law, how does the state of California respond? How do those, and that is speaking to human beings, it's not ambiguous. How do those public officials respond? How do those government bodies respond? How do those groups of people, that society, how does it respond? And you're witnessing the demon possessed, who have long been mentally unstable, show their true colors. That's what's significant regarding the specific environment. So I just captured video. It's currently, again, it's 1:36 p.m. It's 1:12 p.m. when I captured the video that I'm going to review right now with you. And it is relevant regarding, first of all, ongoing psychological torture. So after I capture this video, the demon that's engaged in 24-hour surveillance right above in unit number 55 is repeating it at 1:37 p.m. She is going to a mental asylum, but this is one that is afflicted with demon possession, and her impulse is to engage in what is psychological harm. She's got demons on her, and by demons on her, I mean she's a human being, flesh and blood is what she's made of, but she's filled with demonic spirits, okay? And the demonic spirits are what animate her behavior, her personality, and the decisions that she makes. Now, you are able to see her mental illness because she makes very irrational decisions that have wound her. She's going to wind up in a mental asylum, and she's likely going to be there for the rest of her life. When I get done with prosecuting her, that is exactly the goal, because of the level of a threat that she is to American society. And that is demonstrated by the way in which she is acting with impunity toward an American citizen who is not ignorant about what she's doing and who she's doing it with. And day in and day out, even as I'm documenting in real time, and a stalker living at a crime scene so that she can stalk me 24 hours a day, continuously does so while she knows the evidence is being collected. That is somebody that belongs in a mental asylum for the rest of their life, by the way. Okay, this is the demon that's in unit number 55, hitting the floor, which is amplified in volume at the moment that I reference her. That's not a coincidence. That's the P.O.C. That's also psychological torture. It's also criminal conduct of the corrupt landlord, AVANATH Capital Management, who shall be civilly and criminally held responsible for what the demons whom they're profiting from, living at a crime scene, and your property, your real estate is the groundwork for where criminal conduct, like I just captured on video, is. You're being civilly and criminally held responsible for it. And your employees at that venue are going to prison. All right. This is, again, unit number 55, license 5WUB715. She is stalking with amplified audible activity with simultaneity to my referencing her. She is very heavily documented and engaged in psychological torture with the Ontario Police Department. Just like you saw the demon in unit number 42 at 11:40 in the morning yesterday. Gang stalking in the path with flashing lights using the hazards on the vehicle while a fake sun remains idle over the same apartment building in alignment to me while I am molested and surrounded with engineer light on the inside of the apartment. And this same demon is engaged in an ongoing chorus of amplified noise which defies nature. Okay, because this elderly citizen does not cause potholes in the sidewalk. She doesn't break the staircase as she's walking up and down it. And if she wants to be inconspicuous and sneak around, these demons know how to be very quiet. They're engaging in what is gang stalking through amplified noise as a means of not only audible activity, but a means of harassment and terrorism and psychological torture. And while she engages in the state's role, maintaining a program of psychological torture at what is a facilitating venue where the demon lives, she is doing so in concert with the demons that are in the parking lot. And that's what I documented on video with the demon in unit 42 who was in the parking lot. And let's revisit what her license plate is. She's going to federal prison. License BFVB068 was gang stalking with the demon in unit 55, as this apartment that I'm inside of, 51, is filled with engineer light, and the fake sun is remaining over me, and it remained over that unit 41 as I walked toward that parking lot again, as I captured several times in the day at 8:40, at 10:40 in the morning, at 11:40 in the morning, as I documented at after 3:30 in the afternoon. And you're looking, as I showed you yesterday, after 4 o'clock, 4:50 p.m. The fake sun is literally centimeters away from being right over the same apartment building, apartment number 41. As I documented, the demons in the Jetta yesterday evening, gang stalking with their hazard lights on, while psychological torture, like I documented on podcast, remained underway for a series of hours. The demon in unit 55 does not learn, but I want to be clear, this is the national security threat of the demon possessed, whose job it is to target American citizens in order to murder and kidnap them. It's not to exercise self-control. It's not to make rational decisions. And they are incapable of doing so, which is also why she is going to a mental asylum, and everyone else gang stalking, physically surrounding in units 33 through 64 are all going to prison. All right, and that's what's symbolized by my pointing up to the ceiling, because this demon directly above in 55 is engaged in ongoing stalking on a 24-hour basis. She has no job. She's over 55, but she has enough energy to stay up 24 hours a day, stalking with ongoing amplified noise, whether I'm up at 3:32 in the morning or whether it is 12:02 p.m. in the afternoon. The demon is stalking with noise. That's psychological torture, which is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, and it is her role. While the crime scene is AVANATH Capital Management's Woodside Senior Apartments, where federal group stalking and monitoring, domestic terrorism and psychological torture, which is a 24-hour ceaseless criminal system, is underway by the people that live at the apartment complex. And that is a criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, not merely a failure to provide a contractual benefit. It's not just tortious. It's criminal. And it is in furtherance of what is murder and kidnapping. You are going to federal prison Okay, that's Tracy Banks is going to a mental asylum, and so is her gang stalking neighbor in 55 directly above me, acting on behalf of the entity and on a 24-hour basis in concert with the entity in Unit 55, License 5WUB 715, engaging in ongoing impunity on behalf of an entity. The more that the demon beats on the floor, the more that the demon is pacing around, the more that the demon is sounding like she's throwing around bowling balls, the more that the demon engages in acting out as I document her, which she's aware of because she's engaged in federal stalking in violation of Title 18, which is also in violation of 34 U.S.C. Section 12291 regarding the Violence Against Women Act, technical abuse pursuant to what is psychological torture that I'm subject to. The more that I use my communication devices and publish the documentation of stalking that I'm subject to onto the internet, that's technical abuse under the Violence Against Women Act. And the demon in unit number 55 continuously commits that as an entity at 1:42 p.m. repeating that. All right, doing so, as you heard it on podcasts, as I documented, this is what the entity is maintaining on a 24-hour basis, and more so as strangers come onto the ground. That's also why she and the demons in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison, because while she is maintaining, she represents the entity, while the entity is maintaining an ongoing program of what is, let me go ahead and note this because this is the documentation that I'm maintaining in real time, and the demon maintains this ongoing amplified noise inside of the apartment, interfering with quiet enjoyment with regard to everything that I'm while I want to be clear, while demons are admittedly stalking you through amplified noise and in an engineered light, they're admitted violent sex offenders who are collectively together as an entity worshiping my genitalia. Okay, they are salivating, masturbating, having sex with each other while they are aware of the fact that I'm indisposed, that I'm in the restroom engaging in whatever private activity. This is what sex offenders and stalkers who are demon possessed, as they practice witchcraft, as they engage in sex rituals and whatnot, while they practice pedophilia as a way of life, while they practice raping women and men as a way of life. These are the ones who are gang stalking, and they are currently occupying positions in government. They are a part of what are these cults that practice witchcraft, and they get these positions that they have stolen by serving Satan. But like, again, that's not going to last. And they're also going to be outed for being sex offenders and engaging in what is not only gang stalking, but being demon-possessed gang stalkers. The fact that you serve Satan is directly relevant to the public shame that you're going to be subject to. So this is, again, ongoing contribution of public corruption, ongoing contribution to a sexually perverted population, and then you're understanding what is the nature of those who are gang stalking. You have perverts that are gang stalking in planes and helicopters. You have perverts that are coming onto the grounds that are delivering Uber Eats. They're engaging in surveillance in the parking lot, engaging in the identical pattern of conduct. The flashing of light is the practice with this light activity in the engineered light. Remember, they're in engineered light under a fake sun with this flashing of light conduct, while a program of psychological torture under the guise of what is amplified noise remains underway inside of the apartment. Now, the demon in Unit 55 doesn't even have to, because as I live and breathe, as I walk around, as I listen to the television while it's on, and I'm vacuuming, cleaning the dishes, walking around, there's activity creation. But the demons are very hostile because I know what they are. I know what they're doing. And so Satan has engaged in very foolish conduct, because they're going to prison likely for the rest of their life when I get done with them. These are senior citizens, and so it is less expensive to put them in federal cells than to permit them to be free. And I want you to be clear, the defendant in Unit 55, who is going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life, is confirming that while she is beating on the floor directly above the living room, because the demon that's worshiping my genitalia, she salivates over my genitalia, over my legs being spread open, and she is a white woman stalking a black woman. She is a woman pursuing and making advances toward me, and I do not accept advances toward women. She is an elderly woman who I am not welcoming, giving me attention toward my genitalia. That's the one that's beating on the floor, as she knows exactly what it is that I'm stating. She also knows what's going on in the status of my genitalia when it is indisposed, when it's in the bathroom, and she shares that knowledge regarding that which a sex offender is concerned with regard to the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario International Airport, everybody at Woodside Senior Apartments, including Linda Reyes, including all of the employees that work at the venue, including all the demons that are going to federal prison in units 33 through 64. Okay. And this is shared with a demon like the one that's operating the Uber Eats. This is an aged, appears to be a Caucasian male, maintaining light activity with the flashers on in the parking lot under the fake sun, which I document images of. And as I capture these images, this is what I capture right before I walk out to get the to get the license plate. This is the light activity where a demon is beating on the floor and stomping above my head. Not in the bathroom, not in the kitchen location. She's stomping right above me, which is speaking to the very targeted method of amplified noise. And it's also targeted because of the timing. While the demon is listening to the fact that she's going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life, she begins acting like somebody that needs to be restrained in a mental asylum for the rest of her life by beating on the floor. Doing so in engineer light is monitoring, and it's also monitoring by somebody who is stalking, not exercising any constitutionally protected right to be in the apartment where you may very well pay rent, where you may very well pay your mortgage. You will be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring. The government is hiding at these addresses. The government is acting and relying on the corrupt population full of sex offenders who have custody of minor children while they practice terrorism and psychological torture. It is no wonder what's wrong with the youth in the state of California. They're subject to ongoing sexual violence and being trained to engage in targeting other people while they are literally under the tutelage of sex offenders and demon-possessed stalkers, okay? The entity is maintaining engineer light that you can see illuminating my hand while it's coming through the peephole. This is where the demons are engaging in what is that P.O.C. of beating on the floor. It's audible activity, and they're also doing so while you can see the shadow in the video, which I'm going to show you. That's what the demons are doing while their shadows are appearing at 1:48 p.m. This is the same population of demons in units 33 through 64. You see all these apartment buildings? Because they're going to federal prison. Everybody in this apartment building, 40, 45, 46, 42, she can run, but she can't hide. She's going to prison. The demons that are working for AVANATH in Unit 41, the demon in 55, 52, 53, all of them through 64 are gang stalking while a demon's walking on the sidewalk at 1:47 p.m. while the entity is sharing an impossible light activity and sharing with impossible audible activity under a fake sun. That is still over the same apartment building at 1:12 p.m. As I am inside capturing these images, this is where, right now in real time, I want to document that. A demon is amplified audible activity as I'm reviewing my phone. Only psychopaths engage in evidence against him. Everyone, the prize for all the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments is prosecution under the Violence Against Women Act. They're all losing their federal housing benefits. They can't even pay their rent while they're gang stalking with the government, who provides evidence against them. And they are all being subject to a federal prosecution for domestic terrorism and psychological torture, where they will walk away with a criminal record for terrorism and being a violent sex offender, where they will have problems getting past the next credit check in order to live at another apartment building, where they will become a liability to any landlord who shall now be held accountable, where the laws in California are going to change permanently. All right, because you see what Speaker Companies has been engaging in, and you see what AVANATH Capital Management is engaged in. This changes the landscape, and you will be civilly and criminally held liable for what the residents are engaging in. Gang stalking where they live, and while you're making business at that property. So this entire building, again, this is the fake sun that's over this building at 10:40 in the morning while the demons are under this fake sun. It's currently 1:12 when I capture this image, and as I capture this image and I start opening the door, this is what I'm taking pictures of. The engineer light coming through the peephole, touching on my hand, impossible light. This is where a demon in 55 is engaged in monitoring. She's an admitted stalker and a violent sex offender, and she's doing so telling on the whole state. Okay, the engineer light as I'm capturing images of it, and a stalker is already in the parking lot, knowing what I'm taking pictures of second by second, knowing what I'm physically doing. This is how a demon in an apartment building is able to stalk with simultaneity with noise. This is how a demon with simultaneity is ordered to stalk with impossible light activity, and doing so while I am capturing images. This is when the demon is getting out of his car. He knows exactly what I'm doing and anticipates my walking out of the apartment because I'm opening the front door. This is at 1:12 p.m. This is the conduct of a stalker. The hazard lights is light activity under the fake sun and an engineer light that you see shooting like a laser through the peephole, engaging in psychological torture with demons that live at the crime scene, all of whom are going to federal prison in units 33 through 64, while the public is aiding the demons at Woodside City Apartments to maintain criminal surveillance with the government. All right, you're going to prison for that. The entity is doing so on a 24-hour basis by the criminal aid of the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments, which should be shut down, and AVANATH Capital Management removed from managing any property where it's engaged. It's an established domestic terrorist. You don't have a constitutionally protected right to maintain a business. And this is what they're doing, and through its employees as well. So this is what I'm documenting on video. And as I start documenting and walk out, that demon is walking out. And what's he doing? He's not abandoning position. As he gets out of his vehicle in anticipation, he's crossing path. While he's walking under a fake sun in engineer light, he's creating light activity, which he was already doing, engaged in surveillance, monitoring the genitalia of a woman inside of a private space, engaging in sexual violence on behalf of a sexually perverted and corrupt government that relies on this and practices this as a way of life in the state of California, is engaging in what is crossing path, which is creating light activity and monitoring me as I then walk out of the apartment. That's what he's doing. All right. And doing so, the timing is what you're paying attention to. It's not coincidental under the fake sun. This is a demon that knows what I'm doing. As I make that move, he's walking out and monitoring me and doing so. And the demon in unit number 43 is already in position. And is monitoring with regard to the being in the parking lot already, because this demon is overweight and walks on a cane. She did not run behind me and get inside of her car. She was already stalking in the path within the car, and she starts her vehicle while I'm in the parking lot getting the license plate of this demon that's a violent sex offender gang stalking with Woodside Senior Apartments. And doing so, I want to be clear, 1:50 p.m. Demons pacing on the sidewalk with their shadows upright on the patio door. Just like what you see here, what I documented here on the inside. Let me show you. Oh, this is yesterday evening. This is where the fake centers are made. What I documented here, this is what's showing on the patio door, their upright shadows while they're pacing, walking on the sidewalk. And they're gang stalking with all the demons in units 33 through 64, and they're going to prison. They're also gang stalking with all the demons in this building here, and all the demons in this building over here are going to prison. They're also gang stalking with the demons that are amplifying plane activity at 1:53 p.m. This is the ongoing program of psychological torture, and it's also evidence of impunity. The same impunity and malice by the state is going to be relevant to how much time the demons of the Ontario Police Department, when it hits a little closer to home, because they don't care about the demons at Woodside. I don't care about the demons. I don't care about Linda Reyes going to prison. She belongs in prison. That's exactly where she's going. She belongs. And when the Ontario Police Department, when it's their turn, they're going to be sentenced to federal prison. And the impunity that I continuously document, gang stalking with the airport, gang stalking with the public coming onto the grounds. It is the people of the state coming onto the grounds, gang stalking. It is the people of the state pacing with engineer light upright on the patio door on behalf of the police department. That is still gang stalking. So your kidnapping that you committed in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, there is no statute of limitations, and you're going to prison for even long. You continuously accumulate for what is already a tremendous amount of time for kidnapping as a gang stalking police officer and a gang stalking police department. So let me make sure I remind everyone about that while the entity is amplifying plane activity, gang stalking with the demons, while they're all engaged in federal stalking, monitoring evidence in doing so. Also adding more time to everybody's time in prison. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I point that out. And so at 1:17 p.m., while the demon is walking to deliver, a demon is making a delivery to another demon. It's the elements of light activity, relevant positioning, and audible activity. So this is what I'm capturing, and this is captured at 1:17 p.m. All right, so this is engineered light that is appearing underneath a covered patio.
The covered patio into the living room on the floor where my flip-flops are.
So this is, I just want you to pay attention. This is engineer light that's going over the top of the patio to peer underneath the closed blinds. And you're looking at what is...
Possible light activity. That's impossible light activity on this door. And somebody that's engaged in surveillance, stalking in the path. Ready, you will see.
You are looking at the these patios that you see. Sunlight is not, or hold on. Sunlight is not piercing underneath a patio. This is where shade would be. Engineered light is necessarily coming at an angle, and that's intentional with regarding to the pattern of stalking with light. They're also stalking with noise, and they're also stalking, maintaining presence. That's what group stalking is, and it's demons that are doing that. So the entity is ongoing amplified audible activity. This is what I would typically document in text, but I'm documenting in the video. And this is going toward, again, the prosecution of Daryl J. Carter. This is a corrupt CEO and chairman over a gang stalking landlord who is monitoring with the state of California where his property, where the property itself is a means of domestic terrorism and psychological torture. And the evidence of the engineer light, the evidence of the stalking by the government, the evidence of the stalking by the people of the state, including those that are residing and paying rent and working here. are going to be used against Daryl Carter and every other gang stalking executive who are tethered to the corruption of AVANATH Capital Management, a corrupt company profiting from domestic terrorism in Ontario, California. So I just want to point that out. This is engineer light that's on the outside, and it's piercing on the inside. It's appearing underneath a patio structure, and on the inside of the living room floor. So this is what I'm capturing images of, and I'm capturing, this is how far it's piercing underneath a covered structure. This is impossible light activity. Speaking to the significance of this engineer light to just touch on all the surfaces, to touch on my person, to be present while the ongoing course of noise is maintained. This is impossible light activity. Okay. And this is what it's looking at on the outside.
Ready, you will see
with regard to what is absolutely impossible to be the natural case regarding light, okay? The entity is maintaining methods of impossible light while you are identifying a stalker. That's a stalker. Maintaining the flashing light conduct and doing so under the guise of, oh, I'm making a delivery. It is absolutely legally irrelevant what a gang stalker is doing as they are maintaining the elements of monitoring. The demon-possessed that are unprepared for prosecution for outright terrorism and stalking of an American citizen and furtherance of murder and kidnapping have nothing other than I was doing this and I was doing that, which is an admission against a corrupt company. It's an admission to criminal engagement in the elements of monitoring, and they are being prosecuted because it's malice. It's also highly unintelligent, and it's also legally irrelevant, except for where the entity is kidnapping you, engaging in the elements of monitoring, criminally defaming you. Those are the things that will enhance, exacerbate federal charges, but making a delivery is an admission to gang stalking. Driving by, living in relevant position is an admission to gang stalking. Working at the venue is an admission to gang stalking.
In the pictures that I take, the moment that I open the door, that's when the demon that's monitoring a sex offender, monitoring my genitalia as well, engaging in the state's pattern of conduct with an entire city of stalkers who are demon-possessed, 8YPU797.
Now, this is Uber Eats. This is a Caucasian male who gets out of his vehicle in order to maintain elements of monitoring, but also what is the demon worried about on the surface? Not being seen sitting in the vehicle because they think that you look more like a stalker if you're just sitting in the vehicle based on what it is that I've documented. They look like a stalker being present anywhere. They look like stalkers under the fake sun. They look like stalkers in the engineer light. They look like stalkers with the established gang stalker, the state of California. But again, I'm giving you what is their surface level assessment and understanding of what is happening to them legally. All right. This is why you have the demon in unit 55, amplified pacing at 1:59 p.m. ongoing, while the engineered light inside of the apartment is changing in real time. So the entity, as you're aware of the engineer light that molests me, creates my shadow upright on the wall. This is what's happening. The Satan is literally aiming engineer light, illuminating at different angles on an ongoing basis. So you'll see it on the floor, the size of like popsicles, appearing and disappearing as I take pictures of that, moving closer and closer, moving farther away. The engineer light on the patio, you'll see it on the far wall in the morning. You'll see it still at all times aiming toward the back wall of what is the opposite side of Tracy's bedroom. You'll see it coating on the inside of Tracy's patio door in the morning. It moves across the inside of the patio doors, across the blinds. And then in the afternoon, while the fake sun is over the same exact apartment building, hours later, not going anywhere because this is where it sets, the engineer light then coats the outside of that same patio glass door, creating the shadows, the upright shadows of whatever it is that horizontally shooting engineer light touches. And this is how you have demons in real time at what is 2 p.m. Their shadows appearing across the patio glass door. And these are the demons that are gang stalking somebody that is putting them in prison. So this is, again, speaking to mental instability. This is the national security threat. They're targeting somebody that I'm not petrified. I'm not sitting around thinking about suicide. How can I? This is not the impact that Satan aimed for, and the demon possessed are still going towards somebody that is prosecuting them before the world. By that, not by the way, but not only that, in federal court, most importantly, and they're going to prison. Only a mentally deranged psychopath who will harm themselves. They will kill themselves in order to harm the target individual. They will harm as many people as possible until they are forcibly restricted from further being able to inflict harm to others. That's what you're learning by that. Okay, those are the demons. Those are the obsessed psychopaths. Those are the violent sex offenders who salivate over my genitalia while they're monitoring it and monitoring me while I am presenting evidence regarding the fact that there are a bunch of demons and that they're secretly stalking.
in California. Okay, so I just want to make sure, and this is criminal obstruction of justice that this demon and that the corporate actor Uber Eats is going to be prosecuted for. All right, as I document Uber Eats is in criminally obstructing justice. Uber Eats is acting with the intent to psychologically torture while amplified noise, while impossible light activity, while the government further targets me, as Uber Eats acts in conformity to the state's pattern of conduct, and Uber Eats shall be civilly and criminally prosecuted for it. And the demon operating the vehicle, 8YPU797, is also going to be prosecuted for it. And that's holding an entity accountable for what an entity commits. You're not done with the P.O.C. You're not done with what you're legally accountable for because you flee the scene and drive off. As I document you, the entity further inflicts psychological torture. The entity further inflicts ongoing terrorism and harassment because I'm documenting you. And you're going to be held civilly and criminally liable for that. And this is documentation of what is Uber Eats that's going to be held civilly and criminally liable for everything that I'm documenting. The demons pacing with the impossible light activity, their shadows across the glass door because I'm documenting Uber Eats. That's threatening my life in doing so. The ongoing amplified noise by a demon that has nothing to lose. She can't even pay her rent. She doesn't have 2 pennies to rub against except for that which she's getting from the state. And this federal prosecution is going to put all that money to a stop, an abrupt stop. But she is threatening my life in concert with Uber Eats that comes onto the ground to gang stalk me with her and with the state of California, further inflicting harms in an effort to obstruct justice because Uber Eats is targeting me. And making money. Uber Eats is making money while doing so. That's speaking to damages to drain the pockets of Uber Eats and also to punish Uber Eats that is engaged in domestic terrorism in the state of California. That's what's relevant with regard to demons that have nothing to lose. That's why you don't engage in very serious criminal activity with somebody that doesn't have anything to lose. And this is what the government, this is what corporate actors like AVANATH have done, engage in criminal conduct with the unemployed and those that don't even own, they don't own the bed that they're sleeping on. All right, but this demon in Unit 55, she's not sleeping on any, she's stalking me 24/7. All right, but these are the consequences of an entity gang stalking and having law to deal with every angle of that criminal act, of that entity's act that is inflicted amongst an ordinary target individual. And at 1:17 p.m., I'm walking out. The entity is gang stalking.
To a demon is the pattern of conduct, while a fake sun that's been over Alvarado Gardens today in 2024 as a matter of video documentation. Uber Eats is a documented gang stalker, and that's what they're doing. They're engaged in the P.O.C.
All right, the entity is gang stalking by the demon in unit number 43. She's an overweight. She's also physically handicapped, so she does not move quickly. She does not walk quickly. As I walked from the front door to the parking lot, she was not running behind me to get in her car. She was already stalking in the parking lot. She's already engaged in surveillance sitting in the parking lot. She starts her vehicle and opens the door as though she just got in, and that's not true. Nobody was behind me when I'm walking toward the parking lot. She's engaged in surveillance with Uber Eats. In the event, they're together monitoring me while I'm in the kitchen in the apartment, and the entity is maintaining surveillance. This is what the entity is doing. All they're doing is taking turns stalking all day. I told you what's going on the inside as I document ongoing stalking with amplified noise, which is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. The entity is maintaining an ongoing population that's maintaining light, relevant positioning, and audible activity, including those that live at the venue. The demon of 43, she's been engaged in what would be hypothermia to anybody else, but she's stalking in her car to maintain the elements of monitoring in the event, because I'm documenting, in the event that I happen to come out. And that's exactly what she did. She's already in her car as I'm documenting. She's gang stalking with the state that flies over in plane. She's doing so while the entity, the demon that's gang stalking in the plane, flies right through the plane, the fake sun, doesn't burn up. The fake sun that's also at the same time remaining over Alvarado Gardens, like I documented, and we'll look at that as well. Okay. And on this day in 2024, not only is the fake sun over me at Alvarado Gardens, as I document on video at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's still there as I captured several videos on this day in 2024, including the sunset after 4 p.m. All right, which I've already used before to juxtapose this ongoing crime scene in Ontario, California, which is prosecuting the state of California. I'm just drawing an ongoing comparison. The entity kept the fake sun stationary over Alvarado Gardens. The state of California, they're the idiots that did that. And I'm going to hold you to that because it's the evidence that they're stalking and that they're demons who are stalking. And now while there's only one sun and you kept that one sun over me while you were clearly stalking me, now I'm going to compare the fact that there could be no sun that would ever be over Woodside Senior Apartments, not ever for the duration of the day like it's doing now, just like it did in Los Angeles, but at any point of the day because you kept the sun over me even on the same day and same time in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. And what's over my head at Alvarado Gardens in the middle of the parking lot is not over my head in Ontario. And that's identifying Uber Eats as a corrupt gang stalking company, all right, who sends demons to engage in what is sex offense while making money and bearing that logo. Uber Eats is a threat to my safety, violating the Violence Against Women Act. I'm going to prosecute Uber Eats comprehensively. Okay? And the entity is acting with impunity. The entity gang stalking me by planes while I document Uber Eats. The entity gang stalking, psychologically torturing me by the demons that live at the crime scene. The demons that live here are going to prison, but Uber Eats is going to be civilly and criminally liable for it as well. Understand that this is a crime that an entity is cooperatively engaging in, and you shall be held as a matter of justice for what you're participating in. And they do it gratuitously. In the same way that they're pacing on the sidewalk, while a federal prosecutor, and while this video evidence is going to be replayed in court, it's not going to be ignored. It's not just going to be a blip on the radar. These are the psychopaths, the unintelligent and mentally inept criminals who put their hands in the puddle of blood and put their palm print right on the wall. And you're going to drag them into court knowing exactly who they are and what they did while they knew what they were doing. Those are the idiots that are gang stalking. And I'm going to take the money that Uber Eats makes. I'm going to take that money. That's a matter of justice. This is what every business in the state of California is practicing, by the way. There is no legitimate business. There is no business that's not corrupt because they're all engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. The level of public corruption that I'm exposing is vast. They're all engaged. The state of California, the government, the civilians, it's a way of business to engage in federal stalking. You have people like, I've used this, for example, many times. You're being sold products regarding McAfee and Norton to protect your security on your computers. They're engaged in federal stalking. These businesses that are selling you these software, and you're being monitored on the internet. They're making money under this ongoing existence. That's an entire illusion, and they know that. They're making money off of you. Your information is still being viewed and monitored, okay, by the government and by your neighbor, okay? The entity is doing so while they know that it's a whole farce. They are entirely corrupt while they're both selling you the software, making you think that you're more secure, while they're engaged in federal stalking, knowing exactly what you're doing on your communication devices. That's what makes up the state of California. Just to give you an example. All right, so I just want to point that out. That's what's significance regarding the planes and the pacing with the upright shadows on this patio glass door while I'm documenting this video, and while the demon in Unit 55, who is, again, acting as an entity. This is the demon that's acting as an entity with impunity on an ongoing basis, acting with the demons that are pacing with their shadows on the patio glass, with her pacing above my head. This is the elements of light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity, and it's also psychological torture that the government is engaging in against an American citizen who's enforcing their rights. And I'm naming public officials that are demons and who are corrupt, engaging in domestic terrorism, like Paul Leon, who is going to be removed from office because it's the government and he knows exactly what's filling the sky space, keeping me under surveillance in Ontario, California. He knows exactly what the Ontario Police Department are doing with helicopters day and night on a 24-hour basis, where it costs thousands of dollars to do so and millions annually. And Paul Leon knows all about it. He knows exactly what the demons who are driving around in City of Ontario vehicles, gang stalking in concert with the demons that live at this corrupt business, AVANATH Capital Management, Woodside Senior Apartments. He knows exactly what's going on. He's engaged in it as well. He is being removed from office while I'm exposing public corruption, okay, of epic proportions. The entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct and is doing so while this sex offender goes and out of his vehicle with knowledge of what I'm doing, what I'm physically doing, and what I'm doing on my communication device, and doing so pursuant to a pattern of conduct.
PU 797 is engaging.
The demon of 43 is already in position, engaged in surveillance. She was monitoring me while I was in my kitchen, taking pictures. She's in this vehicle right here. This heavy handicap demon was already stalking in the vehicle, and then she starts it as a means of activity creation. All right. She was engaged in surveillance with the demons that come onto the grounds, in other words, to engage in the elements of monitoring in the event that this is how thorough, this is how detailed the stalking system is and how demons are. It's not a matter of intelligence. It's a matter of obsession. Okay, so what Satan is diligent. He's not omnipotent. He's not omniscient, but he is diligent. He is very psychotic with his level of detail regarding who he is targeting, and he's using a lot of people to do it. There are a lot of dumb people. A lot of dumb people does not equal a formidable adversary. I will prosecute every single last one of those dumb people individually as one entity. That's what's going on with regard to the demon possessed. All right. The entity is doing so.
That's the demon in unit number 43. She's going to prison. She's engaged in surveillance in the
And she's going to prison because she lives in units 33 through 64.
Parking lot with those that come onto the property.
She's going to federal prison because she's acting with impunity. She's going to federal prison because she's engaged in what is a perpetual sex offense with the government in real time, and does so while she's engaged in federal stalking.
To engage in the P.O.C.
This is the fake sun that's over me at 1:12 p.m. As I continuously maintain this, let me go ahead and finish. I want you to see the rest of
P.O.C. with the population and the state that's flying over my head in aircraft right now. That's the pattern. That's why she's going to prison. They're engaged in 24-hour surveillance while the government uses AVANATH capital management's property and the sky space and the people, the entity itself comes onto the grounds to engage in making money.
This is the same pattern of conduct that you see the demon at 3:50 in the afternoon, where this fake sun is still at this same exact location in the sky space. Don't be deceived because the fake sun and the engineer light takes on an amber color. It's the same fake sun in the same position. All right. And doing so hours later after 3:50, stalking in the path with a method of flashing light. That's what this demon is doing. It's very demonic what the entity is doing in the specific environment.
The entity.
It is for basis of monitoring in the path, doing so in that specific environment. And the maintenance of flashing light is the maintenance of a specific environment. That's the role of the demon possessed. They maintain engineer light. They maintain light activity. They maintain dynamic engineer light, meaning walking around, driving around in the engineer light, making noise in the engineer light. This is how demons are monitoring. That's how they monitor you. And they engage in this activity creation with simultaneity also with what the person whom they're targeting is doing, whatever it is that they're doing. And I happen to be documenting. So the demons get even more of a frenzy as I document and expose Satan. Satan does not like to be outed. He does not like it. Okay?
Itself comes onto the grounds to engage in making money while engaged in domestic terrorism. This is all in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And the entity is doing so while the fake sign is today. This is light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity, and it's also malice. Impossible light across the car she's monitoring. All right.
This is the heavy set and physically handicapped demon that lives in unit number 43. And what you're witnessing is the impunity of one, just like the demon in unit 55, the ongoing impunity. And these are elderly people who are outright wicked. And they're also violent sex offenders. And the fact that they're old, that just speaks to the fact that they've been engaged in a wicked lifestyle, which is now criminal, and they're going to prison for it at their advanced ages. That's the only thing that's relevant about the fact that they're so old and they're engaged in gang stalking. And they're violent sex offenders. Okay? Monitoring my genitalia. Okay? Not only the fact that you're old, but you're a woman. Okay? Gross on both accounts. And this is what the entity is doing, gang stalking and doing so in your face. The entity is doing so on an ongoing basis. And this is a demon that does not care that she's going to federal prison, because she's going. She's going to stand in federal court, or she's going to limp in federal court. She's going to be standing on her walker in federal court. And you know, we're going to play back all the video and all the audio, because that's exactly where she's going. All right. The entity is acting. Remember, the entity is flying over my head right now, flying through the fake sun, and it doesn't set on fire. She's pacing with the state that's over my head in plane. And she is, what you'll see here, as she's backing out, engineer light moves across, which may not be bright enough for you to see in the video, but I do narrate it while it's happening. Engineer light moves across this brick wall back here. Hold on. Back here, underneath the shaded structure, engineer light moves across, and while she is backing out, creating light activity, both driving under the fake sun and light activity that moves across the brick wall, she's doing so with simultaneity to the demon that walks back to the Uber Eats vehicle. They're acting in sync while the demon is flying over my head in an aircraft.
This is an overweight demon that walks around in a walker, and she's going to prison. Okay, she could pace around in her cell, impossible light monitoring. License 8YPU79.
All right, they go out of their way to make sure they don't look at you, they don't address you. And then you have the other demons that will look at you and they maintain this look of being perplexed, like, huh? Like, huh? What? Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, or they don't understand, like you're speaking French or something. These are demons and those are psychopaths. In the same way that the demon in Unit 55 knows exactly what I'm saying, knows exactly what I'm doing, knows exactly where I'm at in the apartment as I do it. And the demon is not in the apartment with me looking at me. They know exactly. You're dealing with the demon possessed. You're dealing with the character of Satan, who is a psychopath. This is exposing the demon possessed who are very severely mentally ill. Those are psychopaths, not those that don't recognize that it's wrong. This demon is keeping his eye away from me because he knows that he's caught. He's still monitoring though. This is not going away. Oh, I'm done. I'm getting out of here. I don't want. No, he's monitoring still. Light activity, relevant positioning, and also my voice is audible activity. And he's got his communication device. He's engaged in federal stalking. And he's a sex offender, monitoring my genitalia in a private space in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, helping the demons that surround me in units 33 through 64. And he is acting in sync. These are demons that are acting in sync with each other. The car movement, the engineer light across the brick wall, the plane over my head, this demon walking back out at the same time. It's P.O.C. It's demonic activity.
7, federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 226.8, subsections 1 and 2. The impossible light activity that's moving across the brick wall, that's impunity by a sex offender who is going to prison.
And this is, again, the demon representing Uber Eats, 8YPU797. He appears to be 55 to 65 years old and driving what is an Explorer with the Uber Eats logo on the side of it, stalking in the path with light activity. That's a criminal offense. You're not free to be here, and you're also not free to aid the government in monitoring, which is a sex offense committed by the population. The government relies on the population to maintain these elements in a malicious manner. This is why you don't have the police in the middle of the parking lot with their hazard lights on. When they do so, it's called criminal summoning. Okay, that's what they're doing when they engage in the pattern of conduct under the guise of some execution of their job. It's not their job to engage in domestic terrorism and psychological torture, which is what they're doing. They do it maliciously, and you're supposed to be ignorant about it, focusing on the fact that they've got a pad and pen out, and that they're talking to somebody, and that they've got their back to the target individual, that they're not talking to the target individual, that they're dealing with some. It's the elements of monitoring. It's called criminal summoning. It's the evidence of mental illness by the gang stalking government actors. They're psychopaths.
All right, this is the P.O.C. that the Ontario Police Department encourage and are engaging in right now through a population. The Ontario Police Department represents the state. On this day, the loss
2:18 p.m. amplified pacing by the demon that's stalking in the path in the living room. License 5WUB715, who is also gang stalking with 8YPU797, and that's why she's going to a mental asylum. And everybody else in units 33 through 64, acting with the population that comes onto the grounds, which is going to prosecute AVANATH Capital Management as well. That's why they are going to prison. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison through this video evidence and more. Okay, every employee is going to federal prison through this video evidence and more. Okay, I just want to be clear, 2:18 p.m. ongoing amplification. That's a threat to my life and safety, well-being. It's psychologically harmful. It's that which is criminally retaliatory. That's intended to intimidate the ordinary target individual based on the fact that it's inexplicable, based on the fact that it follows what it is that I'm doing as I'm doing, based on the fact that it is occurring while I'm documenting, and I'm creating evidence to prosecute the state government, which shall under no circumstances tell the federal government that it's going to continuously engage in terrorism in the United States. That's what the state is doing, while the demon in Unit 55 continuously is gang stalking.
Angeles Police Department were gang stalking under a fake sun that remained.
So you're looking at the state that flew through the fake sun. All right. And you can see it's unharmed. So as I go through this video right now, we're going to look at what was going on this day in 2024. There is no sun that would be over the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments while I am capturing the light source that remained over me in Los Angeles. And that's a matter of video documentation as I captured on, and this is the YouTube channel. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the evidence. This is, again, so you can see, a body of evidence was documented today on February 23rd, 2024. These are all the videos that I documented. And also, let's see if I have any shorts, because they separate it by videos and shorts. So I have all full-length videos documented on this day. Looks like I have 9 total where the fake sun remains as a matter of video documentation. Remember, on the Google Drive, you'll see pictures as well. Okay, you'll see not just video, but pictures and screenshots, everything. On YouTube, it's just going to be video. As a matter of video documentation, the fake sun remains and it doesn't leave. I'm capturing the fake sun at 4:42 p.m. Stalking with amplified noise at 2:20 as I select this video right now by the demon in unit number 55. All right, so I want you to see this.
Amplification. You're looking at
And there's the fake sun that's remaining at the same property. But you're understanding at 4:42 p.m. What you see here is not in alignment with Tracy Banks's patio glass door. It's not causing any horizontal light that's going to cause the shadow of her patio furniture to appear on her glass door. Nobody walking on the sidewalk is in perfect alignment with this sun that's over me at the same property where it was present at 9 in the morning, which is speaking to the P.O.C, and such that it's also in perfect alignment with me here at Woodside Teen Apartments inside of apartment 51. And also at apartment 51 is where I'm documenting things such as the fake sun over me at 7:18 in the morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning, at 8:30 in the morning, at 8:06 in the morning. The two are not happening at the same time. Neither are either one happening with regard to the natural environment. This is understanding where stalkers are very clearly seen. Stalkers who are demon possessed, not ignorantly stalking with a method of creation. It's significant that they walk under that fake sun. It's significant that they have their hazard lights on under that fake sun. It's significant that they're loud and noisy and disruptive under that fake sun and in that engineered light that's not the product of sunlight. That's the elements of monitoring that they're maintaining. And they are doing so as a matter of a pattern of conduct, not coincidentally. The clinical term for that which strangers on its face are doing is called a pattern. That's the clinical term for it. It is a pattern of conduct that is shared by the pattern that's shown through the environment and the pattern that's shown through their behavior. And as you witness that pattern, now that the mask is ripped off of the demons, now you can even more clearly see their mental illness, which is the national security threat to you and I. And it is the government. Okay, if you do not know that the beast system is on its way, it's already been here in the making for a long time. This is not new. These are not normal people. These are the demon possessed who have long been mentally unstable, trying to appear as though they're normal, noble, healthy beings, even working in professions where you would never assume that as a psychiatrist that they're mentally delusional psychopaths. But that's exactly what fills the San Bernardino County. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because that is absolutely what is the case. The mentally deranged are the demon possessed, and they are doing so while in professional positions such as practicing law, being in law enforcement, being engaged in politics, working amongst children, where you would least suspect a predator to be, but you should. And it shouldn't be a surprise when on the news you're talking about a bus driver that's molesting children that he or she has access to. They're demon-possessed gang stalkers, as I'm prosecuting. They're exactly what should not have access to children, but that's what Satan does. By the way, it goes into the very thing where they would be least suspected. Satan will go right there. Where you would least suspect a predator to be, that's exactly where the predator will go. Right in plain sight, right in front of your face. All right, this is where the fake sun remained as the Los Angeles Police Department, the same entity, were gang stalking.
This is the remaining of the light source. Remember, it stays right here next to building 1810 for an excess of 6 hours. And then you have group stalking by helicopter in the specific environment. There you go. Hold on. I want you to see that. This is crossing path, amplifying the sound of it inside of my office. Group stalking in the path also.
Okay, that's a method of stalking with light activity. This was a stranger that just came onto the grounds of Alvarado Gardens to maintain the elements of monitoring, and that's what they did. You can add somebody getting in and out of your car, which is also activity creation, opening and closing the door, walking under the fake sun. It's activity creation in concert with the government. All right, the government using planes and helicopters to do so in an entirely circus-like environment where the sun stays over me at that property for the duration of the day. The evidence of a society stalking. All right. The entity is doing so while I am showing you this fake sun as a matter of evidence that remain over.
Amplification. And you're looking at the elements.
All right. This is where the entity kept the fake sun as I documented on video on this day in 2024. The entity maintained on the same time. At the same time, I captured this video at 1:17 p.m. that I'm documenting. It's currently 2:25 p.m. The entity is maintaining the light source at 1:42 to 2:09. The entity is maintaining the light source over me. This is what the entity is doing with Center for Better Life, who is gang stalking, using a vehicle again as a means of audible activity and as a means of light activity with knowledge focused on what it is that I'm doing inside of the office. And as I walk out, I'm stalking in the path, and in the parking lot, the fake sun is over the same venue. This is what I'm documenting here at 142. And what's remaining over Alvarado Gardens on this day in 2024 is now engaged in a grand departure while it's remaining hovering over one building at that. That's also the phenomenon, but also it's a grand departure that it's now over Woodside Senior Apartments where there is only one sun. And that's all that we know about thus far, per science, per NASA. Okay. And the sun also is not that which hovers over the roof, but that's what I'm documenting. Okay, everything that is abnormal and suspect regarding the environment is within the pattern of conduct where the demon possessed are stalking. The demon possessed are violent sex offenders. They are delusional psychopaths who are literally unprepared for being prosecuted for witchcraft, because that's essentially what they're doing. That's what they're practicing, using witchcraft to murder and kidnap people while they practice this demonic system of targeting. But I have surrounded them with tangible evidence so that they can serve what are physical consequences for the physical crimes that they commit on behalf of the government. Okay, people that have names and identities and who are to be held accountable. Okay, this is where the fake sun is remaining over me. The fake sun is over this parking lot.
This is called stalking in the path with light. You'll recall the video that I captured of this group stalker, and you're going to sue the company.
This is Center for Better Life, license plate 72107G1. Center for Better Life, gang stalking at Alvarado Gardens at 8 o'clock in the morning. Gang stalking at Alvarado Gardens, as you can see, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Gang stalking at Alvarado Gardens in the evening. Engaging in what is a very well documented. You can literally prosecute the state through Center for Better Life, gang stalking me at Alvarado Gardens, through what you'll see is the specific environment where they're stalking in the path using their vehicles to do so. With the engineer light, as they driving out of the parking lot, I've documented them gang stalking with engineer light swiping across the brick wall, just like this demon living in unit number 43 did, as I narrated it in video. Okay, that's also the pattern of conduct by the demon-possessed people of the state, who do not maintain any constitutionally protected rights. While you're stalking in the path with engineer light, you're identified as stalking. You're not living in a private space under any First Amendment constitutional protections. You're there as an agent of the state, and I'm going to prosecute you. You're going to be dragged out of that apartment or that home, wherever it is that you live, because you're going to be prosecuted. All right, figuratively speaking, not physically dragged. They may be dragged if they resist. Who knows? And the feds are learning about the monsters that they are, the terrorists that they are. You may very well be dragged. It depends on how much of a fight you go. Nonetheless, you are going to be prosecuted. That's the point. All right. The entity is
because while they drove out of that gate, they engaged in the demonic behavioral pattern of what is impossible light activity moving across the gate. That video was already published. You're going to go ahead and look.
You can see the fake sun through the windows of the vehicle. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Because while they drove out of that gate, they engaged in the demonic behavioral pattern of what is impossible light activity moving across the gate. That video was already published.
Okay, so I just want you to see there's the fake sun. Through the window. That which is over Woodside Senior Apartments is not going to be reflecting off of the window of a vehicle in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens at 1800 North Alvarado Street, in the middle of the parking lot, on the street, nowhere in LA, because it's remaining over Alvarado Gardens, specifically over units 33 through 64. It only goes over the parking lot as I walk toward the parking lot, and it goes right back to being in alignment with me over the same apartment building from the end till the end, from the beginning to the end of the day. That's how I have it in alignment with me with Tracy Banks's patio glass door after 4 o'clock in the evening, 4:50, where I'm capturing on this day, on the February 23rd, 2024, it's remaining in alignment with me at my same office, my leasing office, where I got off of work at 5 p.m., where the fake sun remained, not outside of Tracy Banks's patio glass door, which is the prosecution of Tracy Banks. Okay, the entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct.
You're going to go ahead and look at that. He's group stalking while I'm in my office, and then he waits until I walk out to use his truck, his van, as a means of audible activity while he's stalking in the path. He's engaged.
And what is speaking to not only the behavioral pattern is what I'm describing, I'm also describing it while you see a fake sun, a whole fake and illusion of an environment that is unnatural, that is a scientific phenomenon. That's what is a part of the pattern of conduct. Okay, this is prosecuting the entire state of California because I've been to Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, Kern County, Orange County, and I'm documenting, even as I go outside of the state to Nevada, the pattern of conduct. That's the prosecution of the state. All right. That is the prosecution of the entire state of California. The state government is engaged in domestic terrorism. And this is how the government does it, because the sun, since there's only one that's remaining over me, as I also went to multiple different counties and cities and documented the same impossible occurrence and the behavioral patterns of those demons that make up that population in every city and county, and the government engaging in the hallmark of stalking me by helicopters. This is not a coincidence. All right. I documented that. This is speaking to improving what the state of California is practicing. And it doesn't with the population that is going to federal prison where you're doing it where you live. And this is where you have demons that are going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life in unit number 55. Very unintelligent. But I want to be clear, wants to go, is willing to go because that's how obsessed Satan is. And Satan is using this person. This is not a legal argument for her. She's going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life. Okay, because this is in furtherance of murdering me. Understand, I'm speaking on behalf of the dead. They've already been murdered. They didn't get a chance to prove that the government was stalking them. No one got to hear what they were subject to. I am the voice of those who have already been subject to it. You will not act with impunity on behalf of the state government and live to tell about it outside of the gates of a prison or a mental asylum. You will not. Because the entity is doing this to murder someone, to kidnap them, so that no one ever hears about it. It is not a small thing. And while the demon in 43 very foolishly gang stalks her federal prosecutor, very foolishly acts on behalf of the state that's never going to tell the federal government about what they're not going to stop doing about domestic terrorism, that is speaking to federal prison, and she wants to go to federal prison. Okay, the federal government is obliged, and whether she wants to or not, she's going. But this is what you're communicating as a state government that's engaged in the P.O.C. And AVANATH Capital Management is an entirely corrupt business. That's why you had the landlord, Speaker Companies Incorporated, gang stalking me as I worked for this company, and the employees, including the corporate actors, were engaged in federal stalking and criminal monitoring with the very people of the state that lived at the apartment complex and the demons that came onto the grounds, including the demons that used the sky space, specifically planes and helicopters. That's exactly what AVANATH Capital Management knows about and is engaged in. All right, and they're going to be prosecuted for it.
In what is state terrorism with the police who are group stalking. This is the third-party group stalker Center for Better Life. Directed light on the ground.
And fake sun through the window of the van. The fake sun that is not at the same, the fake sun can be over Alvarado Gardens and Woodside Senior Apartments, but the sun, the natural environment, that's where you're identifying the P.O.C. Because there's a fake sun here, necessarily a fake sun. Because there's necessarily a fake sun when there's more than one of them. Okay, so somebody hasn't told somebody something about how the environment works. All right, and it has nothing to do with the ozone layer getting smaller, being disintegrating because we're littering too much. It has nothing to do with this hovering light source that remains idle over me all day long. And speaking to what is necessarily more than one of these light sources while you're looking at it in the sky space in whatever state that you're in. In whatever state that you're in. And this is time of year and time of day and also duration of time analysis. All right. And there are multiple years of documentation starting from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. And in 2023, I did document when I'm traveling on planes, and I'm showing you the sun that's reflecting off of the water, the bodies of water. What sun is reflecting off the body of water that's sitting idle over Alvarado Gardens? And I documented Southwest Airlines while the fake sun remained over. Understand that's a threat to my life. But this is, again, understanding it defies nature. But even that, as I took a picture while I was on the plane, that's an impossible occurrence that the sun is reflecting off of a body of water. When it coexists. Why it's impossible? Because it's also coexisting with evidence of what's supposedly the sun that's stationary over Woodside Senior Apartments. Southwest Airlines is flying while that sun is reflecting off a body of water. The fake sun that's sitting on the roof of unit number 41 is well beneath I would be looking down at the sun based on how low hovering that light source is, but I'm not. In the images that I captured in 2023, you'll see the sun reflecting off of the body of water while the plane is high, elevated. And I want to be clear, that's the case when you're taking off in planes. They take off from the airport and they're not hovering perpetually, not commercial planes that have a destination. They're not hovering perpetually throughout the entire city, except for where they're preparing to land. And there's no landing of any Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 when the demons of the Ontario International Airport are flying in the direction west. They also do this with simultaneity to what it is that I'm doing. They're also doing it while a fake sun remains idle over the apartment complex. They're also doing it in conformity to a pattern of conduct of gang stalking through aircrafts. So I want to be clear. This is documentation that is also instrumental, what I documented in 2023. But in 2024, the entity is maintaining there's an ongoing body of evidence showing what is relevant for you to use for your own purposes. Literally, what it is that I've documented is useful for anybody anybody to compare with. And that's because of the exclusivity of the sun. Literally. What I've exposed is relevant to whoever you are in this country because of the exclusivity of the sun. All right. So the entity is engaging in this.
While he drove out of that gate, as I captured last week, impossible light activity moved across that black gate. While he is driving in the shade and driving out, understand what would supposedly the sun is hitting the driver's side of his van, but he engaged in the demonic behavioral.
I'm describing when and he's driving out of the gate like he is now. It's a part of the playlist showing impossible light activity while a demon is driving a vehicle. An engineer light moves across this black gate. Let me show you. Moves across this black gate right here while they're, moves across the black gate as he's driving across the passenger side of the black gate. That's called stalking in the path with light. And that's exactly what the demon in unit number 43 did while she drove out of the parking lot with the means of creating light activity while the demon operating the Uber Eats vehicle is also simultaneously walking by me. They're gang stalking together, stalking in the path, stalking with light activity and audible activity. They're monitoring. And they're also engaged in what is domestic terrorism. All right. The ordinary target individual that's surrounded by this, surrounded by people engaging in these things that defy nature are being psychologically harmed in doing so and witnessing it while people that they don't know mimic this behavior on an ongoing basis. And now the demons are showing their own mental illness that they're putting themselves in mental asylums because they're being documented. And the federal government is not questioning my mental state. They're looking at the state, the entities. Mental state. They're not questioning mine. Mine is pristine, and that's already been well established. And the entity that sought to falsely depict my character, they're going to prison for that. Okay, it's called kidnapping by the entity. It's called criminal defamation. So, and that's a part of the pattern of conduct. So, the entity that's engaging in
pattern of crossing path while impossible light activity moved across a surface. That's the pattern of stalking with light in the path. That's a group stalker. Who knows exactly what I'm doing inside the office? Maintaining presence, group stalking. Maintaining corporate knowledge of what I'm doing. By the way, that same real-time knowledge while I'm inside of my private space, you're going to prosecute the people who are monitoring in the specific environment.
All right, so this is, let me show this. The fake sun is right here over the, you saw it through the windows of the van. This is, again, the reality of dealing with Satan. And like I've already stated, a subdued fake sun is equally a fake sun. And also the evidence showing a fake sun is never erased from the record when you're prosecuting for a bunch of demons who are stalking in an environment that defies nature. And what is pivotal is the evidence of a fake sun, that which defies nature, and it's never erased from the record. You're dealing with delusional psychopaths in every regard, even as clouds cover up what is impossible to ever be. Even under clouds, it's still there. Okay, these are the delusional psychopaths. Okay, and this is, again, Satan that you are aware of by the literally the supernatural environment. So this is the spiritual realm that surrounds you. And I'm dealing with, and I am exposing Satan, who is a spirit, but he is also not the most intelligent. He is nothing other than a bully. And he is using a bunch of people together who are together, idiots collectively, being prosecuted together and embarrassed together, being openly exposed together under what is a fake sun that is nonetheless fake while it's covered up with clouds. You know that it's still there because after 4 p.m. I'm capturing video. This fake sun is literally still in alignment with me at this same parking lot while I'm at my office. Okay, that's after 4 p.m. That's the pattern of conduct that you have underway here at Woodside Senior Apartments, where Daryl Carter is engaging in what is a criminal business, a criminal operation of a business, gang stalking with residents, gang stalking with the state, that's acting directly and vicariously on what is the property managed by this corrupt gang stalking landlord, AVANATH Capital Management, and Daryl Carter is the CEO and chairman. In the same way that Don Noggle and you have what is Ted Speaker himself gang stalking of over what is Speaker Companies Incorporated that hired me in order to literally engage in what is accomplishing murdering and kidnapping me. That's why a gang stalking employer engages in the pattern of conduct and hires you. Just like I stated with regard to every other demon-possessed department, such as the Ontario Police, they're demon-possessed. They are only hiring someone that is not of that condition, which they know of, which is never anything that there's a conversation piece about. Nobody's talking about, are you a Christian? Do you follow Christ Jesus? The demon-possessed know exactly who you are. They are only hiring those that are not like them, meaning not demon-possessed, in order to sacrifice them. Just like Speaker Companies did to me, hiring me, targeting me in conformity to a pattern of conduct that did not stop or pause. I remain subject to the P.O.C. I took on employment in Los Angeles and remain subject to it. And it's literally proven because the LAPD and the people of the state in Los Angeles engage in the identical pattern of conduct, something that I could not make up or manufacture. Okay. This is how you have, what is that pattern of conduct. But this is again relevant to the 1:42 p.m. Well, at 1:17 p.m., the entity is keeping a fake sun over this parking lot. And this is where the fake sun remains until the end of the day. And you already know that. I've been documenting this for a prolonged period. This is the state of the venue on an ongoing basis. The entity is maintaining this light source that's reflecting off of vehicles and creating impossible light on the inside. That's not sunlight, and it's also not going to be the product of any sun reflecting off of a vehicle at Alvarado Gardens in the middle of the afternoon, 1:54 p.m. yesterday. Is speaking to what I'm documenting on 1:42 p.m. On this day in 2024. This is speaking to the pattern of conduct. You're using time of day and time of year analysis. So I could use what I documented yesterday just based on the nature of the evidence, because the entity is stalking, as you can see, through the engineered environment. These demons are surrounded with evidence proving to you the reality of who is Christ Jesus. And Christ Jesus is the only true and living God. Satan is not the equal opposite. Satan is a copycat. Like demon-possessed gang stalkers, they want to be like ones who follow Christ like myself, but they're not. That's why they're stalking me. That's why they're stalking. They're obsessed. That is literally Satan's position. He wants to be God. The demon-possessed want to be me, but they're also hostile. They also hate me. This is what's wrong with the gang-stalking mother. Okay? A witch that wants to be a prophet. You will never be a prophet serving Satan. Ever. You will never be a prophet engaging in sex rituals, engaging in incestuous acts of sexual violence. That you will never be a prophet. That's not how that works. That you will never get that righteous end from that wicked path of pursuit. You'll never get that from that. Okay? But this is the work of Satan. Okay, so this is what the entity is doing. There's no sun that's over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles at 1:42 p.m. reflecting off of the demon that was gang stalking today in the parking lot, stalking in the parking lot. This is her same vehicle. It's reflecting off of her windshield, and it's creating a possible light on the inside of this apartment at 1:54 p.m. The entity is maintaining what is a remarkable environment that's on its face, readily identifiable. It defies nature. And at 1 in the afternoon, where the fake sun is clearly present, it's the identification of a third party, like I told you yesterday. That's why she was in the parking lot today, gang stalking with the population that comes onto the grounds to engage in the P.O.C. That's why she's there doing that.
She's going to prison. She's engaged in surveillance in the parking lot with those that come onto the property too.
All right, the entity is doing so as I'm showing you the fake sun that remains over this property. The entity is acting pursuant to that P.O.C. This is the fake sun over the same venue. There's no sun that's going to be present at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles like I documented on this day in 2023. As a matter of video evidence, not just me stating it and not having evidence to prove it, but from 9 o'clock in the morning, and video evidence only because I also captured pictures, but video evidence we can rely on. And from 9 until after 4 p.m., the fake sun remained over me. It never deviated like the natural environment would. That which is the sun over me at 9 o'clock in the morning will continuously progress so that, by the way, Florida can look at the sun at some point. But at 9 o'clock in the morning over me, what is over you in Florida at 12 p.m.? Because it's not the same light source. It's not the same sun that's reflecting off of the demons' vehicles in the parking lot at Woodside Senior Apartments. All right. Where, by the way, it's not just that, but it's the fact that it sits over Woodside Senior Apartments, and it sat over me at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. And that is not the natural environment, but it is identifying a pattern of conduct where the government is obsessed with me. The government is paying thousands, which comes to millions of dollars, to monitor my genitalia, everything concerning it, including the demons that kidnapped me. Exercising fictitious authority as though they're a police department having any right under the law, any authority under the law. They do not. And I'm going to prosecute the state of California for abusing the Constitution like it does ordinary targeted individuals who do not know the law, do not know their rights, and do not know what these demons are surrounding them with. That's the significance of planes being amplified while I'm capturing this video. That's the significance of the demon in Unit 55 amplified and pacing and ongoing loud booming noises. That's the significance of demons' upright shadows appearing across this patio glass door. All right, so I'm going to end this video with what you already know. The entity keeps a fake sun outside of this patio glass door into the evening. So I'm going to go ahead and show you image of that. This is the fake sun in the morning. 10:15 in the morning, that which is still over me at, again, let me just make another point, at what is
Pretty. You will see in
1
the
o'clock in the
images.
afternoon, 10, 11, 12, 3 hours later, that's not the sun, okay? And there's also no provision that is going to be over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles while I'm documenting that phenomenon. This is the POC that I continuously capture, and the entity is, what time? This is in the morning. I want to show you something that's in the evening just to conclude this video. This is again at 4:55 p.m. On this day in 2023, again, the entity is maintaining the fake sun like you just saw after 4 p.m. There's no sun that's in alignment with this patio glass door. While it's in alignment to me at my office in Los Angeles, California at 4:42 p.m. where LAPD is gang stalking.
Amplification. And you're looking.
That's the POC right there. Okay, now what you see here in alignment to me is not in alignment with this patio glass door. And the two are not happening at the same time. Okay, what you see here is not that which would ever be in alignment with me in Los Angeles.
Looking at the elements. This is the remaining of the light source. Remember, it stays right here next to building 1810.
That's speaking to the POC. That's impossible. 4:42 p.m. I'm documenting these images at in Los Angeles. Excuse me, this video on February 23rd. Today, 4:42, undocumented the fake sun as I document on an ongoing basis, where it does not leave from my presence. Neither do stalkers. That's the identification of stalkers through the specific environment. You also know that they're stalkers through the amplification of audible activity. You also know that they're stalkers through the simultaneity of activity creation. You also know that they're stalkers through their behavioral pattern. Stalking in the path with a method of flashing of light. You're seeing them do this under the fake sun. You got the demon driving the blue Mazda, license MARMMAK. You got the demon driving the Uber Eats this today. You have the demon that living in Unit 42, gang stalking with the Ontario police who arrived in video as well. But let's get that demon's license plate again. Gang stalking with the flashers under the fake sun. This is a pattern of conduct that they engage in, but let me recite because they're going to prison. BFVB068 is going to federal prison for that. That's the pattern of conduct of criminal monitoring. Criminal monitoring is in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, 34 U.S.C. sections 12291, which this demon in unit number 55 continuously is violating on a ceaseless basis. She is no longer ever, she's not going to, and neither will she ever receive federal housing benefits in order to aid in the payment of rent. And this is, again, provided she ever gets out of the mental asylum, which she's not. She's not. She's not. Tracy Banks isn't getting out either, but I'm prosecuting the people of the state that are gang stalking me with a gang stalking mother who put me up to sacrifice me with the state of California. And this is what every police department is practicing in the state of California. This is what an entire population is practicing in the state of California. And to date, I want to go ahead. It's 2:47 p.m. This is where an entity is maintaining engineer light. So you're looking at this illumination through what is the same maintenance light that's occurring on the floor, creating the shadow of the patio chairs at an angle, because the engineer light is appearing at an angle underneath the patio door. That's why the chairs are not upright. That's why the shadow of the chair is at an angle. And this is creating my shadow on the inside. This is not sunlight. This is engineer light, the evidence of stalking where people live in an apartment complex. They're going to prison in units 33 through 64. This is impossible light activity. This is impossible light activity. It is impossible light activity that this upright chair, the shadow is appearing downward at an angle because of the angled light, the engineered light that's appearing at an angle underneath the structure. And this is evidence of a fake sun that is sitting idle, that is not on this day in 2024, the natural environment over with Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. And this is where it remains. Okay, that's a demon stalking in the parking lot, stalking in the path. That's POC. Okay, and this is, again, impossible light activity. This is impossible light activity that frames the door. This is impossible light activity that comes through the peephole. This is impossible light activity as you open the front door, because that which is in Los Angeles that's remaining after 4 p.m. is not creating any sunlight from the sun that's at Woodside Senior Apartments. And that's how you're identifying stalkers at the venue. All right? It's impossible light activity. Stalkers identified through light activity. All right, the entity was amplifying plane activity, walking on that sidewalk while their shadows are appearing on that glass door, gang stalking with the demon in Unit 55, which is a means of amplified audible activity. People that state are gang stalking, license 53407U1, and you'll see the fake sun that remains here, and it's not in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. Okay, this is where the entity is gang stalking through the police, gang stalking through the airport. Both of them are going to be shut down. And you have a bunch of demons. Every body represents, every physical person represents demons who are pacing. And they're sex offenders monitoring my genitalia, doing so with minor children. POC. 1, 2, 3,
sex offenders monitoring my genitalia inside of a private space as well, and coming onto the grounds of capital management, gang stalking with the public. All right, there's another demon walking in the parking lot. They're pacing. These are demons under the age of majority as well. Alrighty, just want to make sure you can't see that, but I just want you to see. This is the entity that is gang stalking, pacing with those under the age of majority, walking in the parking lot, gang stalking together. Violent sex offenders while engineer light remains on the inside. All right, there's none of this is sunlight where the entity's keeping the sun over the Alvarado Gardens and Woodside Senior Apartments at the same time. That's requiring more than one sun. That defies nature. That's recognizing the P.O.C. And while I am at it, I just want to go ahead and point out what you should also be aware of, which is the P.O.C. website. This is where I am documenting what is the prosecution of the state of California, where much of which I have exposed. This is the website for the pattern of conduct this is the POC.wordpress.com, where you are able to look at, again, the prosecution of the people of the state. And again, this is a minor recitation of facts speaking to recognizing the pattern, much of which I've discussed in this video. And the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct where I'm showing you the fake sun as you can see it remaining over the building, as I just use one collage just to give an example of what the fake sun is doing on a daily basis. And this is again from morning until afternoon. And this is not coexisting in a natural environment with what I'm documenting, as we can review together what we just saw, the fake sun that's remaining over me and at Woodside Senior Apartments, Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, California. All right, so where I'm documenting from 9 a.m. until after 4 p.m. This is where everybody in this building is going to federal prison. Everyone. These are units 33 through 64. They're going to federal prison. They gang stalk with the population that comes onto the grounds to keep me under surveillance, and they're all doing it collectively on behalf of the state of California that is engaged in domestic terrorism. Okay, the entity is engaged in a program of psychological torture, which it shares in as well, while the entity is engaged in what is also Violence Against Women Act. And you have those over the age and under the age of majority, like you just saw. You have a grown male with two underage males engaging in a sex offense. And I read that license plate of that black Ford truck. That is, again, the basis to lose custody of children, and doing so with impunity. Walking on the sidewalk like you just saw them, the demons were engaging in what is the upright shadows appearing on the patio glass door as a means to psychologically torture me while they are aware that I'm inside of the apartment documenting, capturing video in concert with the demon in unit number 55, who is living at a crime scene, who's going to a mental asylum, who needs to be in a mental asylum, because you are able to see, not only as I've proven the POC, but you're also witnessing somebody who has long been a threat to the public and herself, while now her criminal system that she sought to secretly and maliciously engage in is fully exposed, and her obsession and her mental instability is fully exposed, while a demon and a stalker continuously does so in the face of what is evidence that clearly establishes everything that is wrong with her and everything that she's doing and who she's doing it with. That is the only type of person, a mentally unstable one, that would engage in that level of, at this point, you're prosecuting yourself. And that's the state of California that's prosecuting itself. This is where the fake sun rises and sets, 7:18 to 6:27 p.m. All right. And as I document here, this is the reality. The demon in unit number 55 is the chief source of stalking via amplified audible activity. She is going to a mental asylum. But then again, you're understanding they're all going to federal prison in units 33 through 64, the entire venue filled with 144 units, gang stalking with the corrupt government. That includes Paul Leon, who is going to be removed from office. Alan D. WAPNER is not coincidentally a demon-possessed domestic terrorist leader over the Ontario International Airport, where you have all of the airlines engaged in federal stalking and gang stalking over this venue, which is speaking to the pattern of conduct, not the constitutionally protected business of any airport. They're going to be prosecuted for it. And it's also the criminal interference of the Violence Against Women Act. And those executives that are in positions of leadership, they will also be dealt with under federal law. The impunity that I document with the ongoing gang stalking by the airlines, from the airport, they're going to be prosecuted for that. And Alan D. WAPNER and everybody else like Jim Bowman, Paul Leon, and all the other demons in position, they will be removed from position. This is what's happening, okay? The entity is going to be prosecuted for the criminal contribution to what is public corruption, gang stalking, and encouraging gang stalking amongst a bunch of perverted, elderly demons who are unemployed. And this is a means of financing domestic terrorism in the city of Ontario, which is the state of California, okay? That's what's relevant about
about the gang stalking police department. That's what's relevant about the gang stalking sheriff's department, San Bernardino County, the gang stalking fire department. Okay, the entity is doing so on an ongoing basis, and what you will see on the website is a series of videos showing and referencing the fact of daylight savings time, and you will see that it absolutely has nothing to do with the stationary maintenance of this fake sun over me at Woodside Senior Apartments from the beginning until the end of the day, which is the substance of these videos that you will see. And this is just one of the many things that you can see when you're recognizing what is the demonic pattern of conduct. Federal group stalking and monitoring. Federal group stalking and monitoring is demonic activity. Federal group stalking and monitoring is your alert regarding the times that we are in. Federal group stalking and monitoring is the proof regarding the corruption of a government that is filled with those who are demon possessed. They serve Satan. This is speaking to the oncoming beast system that is showing more and more symptoms of literally unveiling itself, and not seeking to diplomatically show hints of it, but being full throttle and operation, because that's the time that we're in. And this is a matter of being informed of where we are at in history. And those who know Christ, who walk with Christ, and I would implore you, if you do not know Christ, if you have not accepted him as your Lord and Savior, I don't know what you're waiting for. Today is the day. You are literally witnessing people who have lost their minds because they serve Satan. They are out of their minds. They are so in darkness that they are obsessed with what is now criminal conduct. You're not just practicing witchcraft. You're not engaged in any anonymous, mysterious, ambiguous conduct that nobody knows what you're doing and that you're not going to serve any consequences for. You're talking about businesses. You're talking about bodies of government. You're talking about communities of people who are serving real consequences and paying for it and going to prison for it. And they are so gone mentally. These are the harms regarding serving Satan, regarding making sure that you are not vulnerable to the spirit of Satan. And you are vulnerable if you do not know Christ Jesus as your Lord and Savior, if you are not filled with the Holy Spirit, if you have not accepted Christ Jesus as your Lord and Savior. It is literally that important. Okay. Besides the fact that he's God and he loves you, he died for you, rose from the dead, died for sins that he never committed, lived a perfect sinless life. Even beyond that, which is enough, just because of the fact that he loves you, it's even more. The benefits are you get to save your natural mind. Okay? These demons have lost it, and they're going to sit in prison, many of them for the rest of their lives, because of what they're going to be prosecuted for. All right. It is currently, I just want to make sure that it's clear. It is currently February 23rd, 2025. This has been a lengthy discussion. I'm going to publish this on the podcast, but of course it will be published on the website. This is the POC.wordpress.com and on the YouTube channel. This is documentation of ongoing obstruction of justice. Throughout the video, as I've been documenting it, the entity amplifying plain activity, the demons who are the people of the state. Remember, while they're pacing on the sidewalk, and their shadows are appearing on the patio glass door, which is psychological torture, while they're engaged in relevant positioning and light activity, and they're monitoring me, in other words, and seeking to psychologically torture a federal prosecutor who is going to still put them in federal prison. These demons in units 33 through 64 are going to prison for it, because that's why they're here around me, and you know that because of a fake sun sitting over me. All right, it is again 2:57 p.m. on Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. This is POC. 3:58 p.m. on Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. This is in reference to video documentation captured on February 23rd, 2024 at 3:46 p.m. So it's 3:58 p.m. So the fake sun is idle, stationary over me at this hour, at this minute in Los Angeles, at the specific venue of Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, where I am inside of this apartment, where the demon in unit number 55 is stalking with ongoing amplified noise while I'm walking around inside of the apartment, capturing the impossible light activity that's inside of the apartment, that's framing the wall, the ceiling, and appearing on the well inside, on the floor inside, the magnified size of the patio furniture on the patio door, speaking to a fake sun and engineered light that's not coming down from a sun, but shooting horizontally like a laser, and creating the upright magnified size of shadows, and the engineered light that you no longer see. I'm going to show you what I just you no longer see right here at 3:59. Let me show you what I just captured minutes ago inside of the same room. This is speaking to the demonic. Okay, this was 4 minutes ago at 3:55, 5 minutes ago, And now you are looking at what is no longer there. Okay, it's never sunlight in the first place. It's never naturally occurring. And just to prove again, I'm in the same room where I just documented the presence of this engineer light inside of Tracy's bedroom. The blinds are closed. I'm showing you this cascading light along her ceiling. And it's inside of her bedroom where, just so you can see the timestamps, 3:55 and 33 seconds, 3:55 and 38 seconds, meaning I'm just turning my camera to capture another picture of the state of the blinds and the state of presence of the state of engineer light on the ceiling and on the bedroom wall inside of her bedroom, where I'm subject to surveillance. Engineer light is the purpose. This is what covers the property outside. You have a bunch of demons who are cockroaches, and they're all stalking as a society. And what I'm showing inside of the apartment is evidence of what has nothing to do with the fake sun. The documentation of the fake sun is showing how everybody at Woodside, in units 33 through 64 at Woodside are going to prison because they are acting while they're physically surrounding me inside of those apartments in concert with the government, the rest of the property, and also the public, the demons who come onto the grounds gang stalking on a 24-hour basis. The entity is doing so while engineer light is active inside of this apartment, and that's how you have, again, what is the absence of engineer light, where 5 minutes ago, before I started this video, that engineer light was right here. And it's an impossible occurrence. The entity doesn't do anything about the fake sun, though, which is also an impossible occurrence. But I find it laughable as I'm showing you this evidence of what is impossible light ricocheting off of the patio door to appear again over here in the corner. That's engineer light on the side of the wall right here, illuminescing down here. That's engineer light. And on the inside, with the blinds closed, you have what was this light activity while the blinds were closed. Okay. Now, when you're opening it, that's still impossible light activity. That's concentrated light while you're underneath the shaded structure. Engineer light is also on the floor on the inside of the living room here, where it is. You can see it on the floor on the inside of the apartment. Oh, wait, here you go. Away from this is at a distance on the floor on the inside. It's taken on the shape of the bottom of the blinds. That's what engineer light does. It takes on the shape of whatever it's touching. It also creates magnification of size. It also creates multiple shadows of whatever it's touching. This is where the demon in unit 55 is stalking me as I begin taking pictures of what is the fake sun that is still over the same apartment at 3:54 p.m. And I just want to be mindful of what I am documenting on this day in 2024 on what would be February 23rd, 2024, while you are looking at what was documented on this day in 2024 at the same time. So here you go.
This is impossible lighting.
Hold on 1 second.
This is impossible light activity. It's light reaching into the depths of a covered hallway. This is a pattern of contact stalking of light. And that's the light source. And that's amplified audible activity. Crossing the path, group stalking. All right, this is impossible light activity. That's also on the sidewalk.
All right, so 1 second. I've got my browser here because I am currently uploading evidence onto the internet, which again, the entity is interfering with. So I'm gonna close that that's out of the way. I'll finish later. But I want you to see this, light activity while I'm inside of building 1808 North Alvarado Street. Building 1808 North Alvarado Street, that which is the sun that's over 1808 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, is remaining over, as you see on video, after 4 p.m. because that fake sun still remains there. It's 4:04 p.m. and the entity is gang stalked by LAPD. LAPD is gang stalking just like the people that stayed at Woodside Senior Apartments are gang stalking.
This is impossible light activity. It's light reaching into the depths of a covered hallway. This is a pattern of contact stalking of light. And that's the light.
So I want to be clear. First of all, what you see over the parking lot over Alvarado Gardens is not that which is in alignment with me, causing any of this light activity, shooting, causing, it's while it's over Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, where it was even this morning on video at 9 o'clock, the same property over my head. I work and live at the same apartment complex, didn't leave, documented the fake sun all day. It's not creating any sunlight. The sun is not in any position to create any sort of horizontal light. It's not aimed on Tracy Banks's patio door. This is not the natural environment. It's not creating any light in the shade that appears and disappears on the bedroom wall. It's not creating any sunlight that would frame the bedroom, the first the front door. It's certainly not that which is going to create any sort of light activity while it's over me at Alvarado Gardens, and that's where the LAPD is stalking. And you're looking at, again, I want you to see this. This is why I capture this, so that you can see how powerful the evidence is when you look at it at the same time. And it defies common sense what Satan has done in order to prosecute the demon-possessed who are stalking and hunting down American citizens. This, what you see here through closed blinds, creating engineered light on the wall inside here, which is speaking to the fact that I'm being kept under surveillance, the fact that demons know when my panties are down inside of a private space, constitutionally protected, where the government has no warrant or probable cause to maintain such surveillance, which is evident through this maintenance of engineered light and the stalking behavior by the government, like the LAPD were doing in the same specific environment, which is within a pattern of conduct. That's what's happening in Ontario. This is not over the parking lot at Alvarado Gardens, piercing through these blinds. This, what is over Alvarado Gardens while LAPD is flying over my head at building 1806 in Los Angeles, California, is not aimed in alignment with Tracy Banks' patio door at Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario, California. And this is also the same apartment. You also know that it's not the sun because this fake sun remains here all day long, okay? All day long, from morning until evening, because this is the same position where it maintains until after 4 p.m., where the fake sun is also then setting. And you also know that this is the case because I documented this fake sun on this day in 2024 after 4 p.m., where LAPD engaged in gang stalking again on video.
Light source.
So, let's look at that again.
This is impossible light activity. It's light reaching into the depths of a covered hallway. This is a pattern of conduct.
The light, the sun that you see outside of Tracy Banks's patio glass door, in perfect alignment with me, which is the evidence of stalking by a population and a corrupt government, is not creating any sunlight inside of the hallway of building 1808 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, 90026. That's not sunlight. That's directed light, the evidence of criminal surveillance by the government, who was engaged in what is the identification, the probable cause for the feds to investigate and prosecute the state for federal group stalking and monitoring, the entity gang stalking by helicopter, like I documented.
That's stalking with light, and that's the light source. And that's amplified audible activity, crossing path group stalking. All right, this is impossible light activity that's also on the sidewalk.
And the entity
that's impossible light activity that's on the
gang stalking by helicopter in Los Angeles is the same entity that the demon in unit number 55 is gang stalking with right now. And that's why she's going to a mental asylum. All right, the demon possessed who are very highly mentally severed are under the false impression that engaging in psychological torture, which is audible activity that the federal prosecutor is literally listening to it and happening and also documenting in real time, is going to stop the federal prosecutor, who is literally, I'm the only one that's impervious to the tactics of Satan. That's why I'm breaking down all of Satan's tactics to you. But only a mentally unstable person, and I want you to see the mentally unstable. You need to see what the demon possessed does. You need to see what's wrong with the demon possessed, what Satan does to people. And this is a person that is mentally unwell, who is beating around inside of the apartment above my head as I'm capturing damning evidence, and I'm showing you her double chin. I'm showing you her crow's feet, her wit, her peroxide dyed hair. I'm showing you the fact that she is stalking in real time under this fake sun while she is living where she stalks. It's the absolute most pathetic existence ever. This is a demon possessed gang stalker who is mentally unwell, and that's why she practices that which is psychological torture against another human being. That's a psychopath. Okay, and this is one that is inclined to engage in murder, engage in rape, engage in pedophilia, engage in sex trafficking, engage in voyeurism, that which is, again, deriving pleasure gratification out of the suffering of another human being. And this is what represents the government, because this is what is maintaining presence on behalf of the government inside of Unit 55 and inside of all of the units where the fake sun is over me at the same time in Los Angeles, which is where LAPD was flying over my head, where you're seeing the fake sun at the same time. This is what LAPD was doing, gang stalking, okay? Under a fake sun.
That's also on the sidewalk.
Doing so in a manner that is irreconcilable with nature and continuously threatening. LAPD is gang stalking with the people of the state at Woodside Senior Apartments in the same way that Ontario is gang stalking with the LAPD. They are the same entity, and the demons that are living at Woodside, while I'm showing you impossible light activity, this is not sunlight that's occurring while the sun is stationary over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. And never does any sunlight occur within the dark while blinds are closed and then disappearing 5 minutes later. That is the pattern of conduct, however, of what is a demon-possessed entity that's monitoring evidence, knows exactly what's been captured, but they're also intellectually inept, and that's why you hold Satan down to the evidence that you capture, because Satan is a liar. All right. And this is the evidence that Satan is a liar. Evidence that would otherwise be a matter of what was a matter of my word against a bunch of lying demons, gang members who established mental illness by virtue of their false testimony. Okay, by their bearing false witness. That's how they prosecute for crimes, by bearing false witness in the state of California, where they're engaged in gang stalking. This is what makes up the Ontario Police Department, that's gang stalking with the demons that live in units 33 through 64 who are going to prison. So again, on ongoing evidence that's going to present against them, all of them that live in units 33 through 64, they're going to prison. This is criminal obstruction of justice. These are those who are intellectually inept, and they are unprepared to be federally prosecuted for their practicing of witchcraft that's designed to psychologically torture someone in order to murder and kidnap them. They are engaged in an ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct that is designed to obstruct justice, and that's why they're going to federal prison for even longer. And the demon Tracy Banks and the demon in Unit 55, license 5 WUB 715, they're both going to mental asylums. And the entity is ceaselessly engaged in the violation of the Violence Against Women Act, stalking me in violation of what are the HUD regulations that govern this property, this HUD regulated property. And I'm showing you the specific environment that is also relevant to the evidence, the unprecedented means of violating the Violence Against Women Act. And they shall be prosecuted for stalking under 34 U.S.C. section 12291, and also federal stalking under 18 U.S.C. sections, federal stalking, Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2 as well. This is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is criminal surveillance that the government is maintaining. That's why the government is gang stalking me at Woodside Senior Apartments in helicopters. That's why the government is gang stalking me in helicopters by the LAPD in Los Angeles under a fake sun. And you can compare the two environments, and the two are not happening at the same time, but the two that are both scientific phenomenons are speaking to what is a pattern of conduct by also those who share a condition, and they also act with an intent to psychologically torture in order to obstruct justice, and that's why they're going to prison for that. So I want to make sure that it's clear. The demons that were documented, gang stalking in helicopter, it's not just Ontario PD that's worthy of federal prison. I have many of these demons' names and badge numbers as I encountered them because they kidnapped me, okay? The LAPD is also subject to federal prison. They are also engaging in conduct worthy of disbanding. The only difference is that LAPD, the specific agency, even though they are the same entity, they have not engaged in kidnapping, okay? But they did engage in kidnapping because the entity kidnapped on behalf of the entire state. But again, Ontario Police Department is being disbanded based on the previously documented criminal acts of obstruction of justice, including kidnapping and exercising fictitious authority under laws that they have no authority under because they're gang stalking. They are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. They are engaged in domestic terrorism. And their whole entire corrupt system has been fully exposed. And while they engage in a kidnapping in order to further torture and terrorize and criminally obstruct justice, that is the one who is exposing it because of my documentation, not because I ever broke any law. You document any gang stalking police officer by license plate, standing on what is they would like to claim as public property, because that's exactly what I did. And they engaged in what is an obstruction of justice by putting their hands on me, harassing me, saying anything to me. They went farther than that. They kidnapped me and then manufactured criminal charges and then manufactured a diagnosis for mental instability. That's why the demons of the Ontario Police Department are being disbanded, and that's why many of those demons are going to federal prison, and they are to date continuously accumulating time in federal prison. But I want to be clear, the demons that I documented gang stalking day and night at LAPD, they're also worthy of federal prison. They have not, it's not been forgotten. Like, because I move away and because these demons move out of their apartments, this is not avoiding federal prison. And justice requires that, and the federal government shall not be so short-sighted, especially having delayed justice for so long. So I want to make sure that I made that abundantly clear as well. It is currently 4:13 p.m. This is where the fake sun is remaining. The fake sun remains right here. The upright shadows of the patio furniture. The impossible light that's appearing on the couch and on the walls right here. This is the same light activity that you see in the dark when Tracy Banks is gang stalking me and monitoring me in my sleep. She's a witch. She's a witch. She practices witchcraft. She spiritually attacks me. And I rebuke her in the name of Jesus while I'm prosecuting her in the physical. She's going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life. She's gang stalking with the city of Ontario. She doesn't have a right to even live here while she's engaging in that unprecedented act of terrorism in the state of California with an American government. All right. It is currently, again, 4:14 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 7:51 p.m. I want to make sure that I'm actually recording. This is documentation of ongoing psychological torture as I document. You will see in the text that is, well, the document, the PDF document that I upload every day, which is an effort to document in order to prosecute civilly and criminally what is the evidence of psychological torture. So the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct and doing so for a prolonged period. I documented as of 6:24 p.m. the ongoing amplified noise of what initially begins as and by begin I mean resuming, because the entity is ceaselessly gang stalking, right? So while I'm listening to headphones, I'm walking around in the kitchen, the entity is gang stalking with ongoing amplified noise. And as that amplified noise occurs, that's the end of it for the moment. I'm just speaking to that current iteration of the P.O.C. And I'm listening to headphones though, and so I continue watching what it is I was watching content on YouTube. And so this is 6:24 p.m. and then the entity does so again at 6:27, approximately 2 to 3 minutes later. Once I start documenting at 6:30 p.m. in text, making documentation regarding timestamps. This is when the amplified noise continues incessantly, ceaselessly, okay? And that timing with regard to the ceaseless engagement of what is amplified audible activity in engineered light monitoring and what is a criminal interference with quiet enjoyment is speaking to evidence of a stalker that doesn't have any, it's not you're not residing in any private space, you're a government actor, you're an agent of the state, and the government is hiding behind the very civilians who make up the population in order to keep American citizens under surveillance. And that ongoing pattern of conduct in the specific environment is how you are recognizing the intent to do so. So the entity is in engineered light, prolonging and maintaining amplified noise with simultaneity to my then beginning to document in text, which is again WSA-the people, that's the document where you're seeing it in. The entity that is engaging in what is amplified noise, this demon in unit number 55, she is acting in concert with the demons surrounding the apartment in close proximity. Now I want to be clear, this is demonic. And you know this as a matter of fact and beyond a reasonable doubt, because you continue to see, not only is the fake sun remaining over me in Los Angeles as I documented from the beginning to the end of the day, including today, February 23rd, 2024, which would have been a year ago. Today is February 23rd, 2025. But you are aware of the fact that it's also demonic. So that's speaking to the method of noise. So as I documented in the text, Tracy Banks returns to the apartment where she is engaging in the elements of monitoring and doing so. And you also know that she's present, not coincidentally, but she's doing so while the entity is amplifying train activity. This is the intent to monitor and doing so with the demons who are over 55, a whole bunch of stalkers who are also sharing in what is the ritualistic worship of my genitalia together, while they're also monitoring the documentation. They're sex offenders that worship what's between my legs, and that's an act of incest by a predator who I'm a relative of, okay, who was gang stalking me, sought to profit from murdering me, thought she was going to get away with it, thought she was going to be able to go to my funeral and have a wet face and claim and want attention in that pathetic manner while she actually wants to be me. This is a witch that is gang stalking. She's going to a mental asylum, but she is arriving and the entity is amplifying train activity. This is a psychopath. And you're looking at one that's maintaining a straight face, gang stalking with the demon in unit 55, who's pacing like a lap dog for 30 minutes straight as of 7 o'clock. Okay. When at around the time this demon, Tracy Banks, arrives to engage in gang stalking with the community, the demons in units that surround unit 51 where I'm at, 52, unit 50, unit 54, unit 56, and these are just the demons that are adjacent to the property, to the unit where I'm at. It is not an explanation actually for what is the amplified noise of what sounds as though the doors are creating a loud boom as you shut them, but you're looking at them walking around on walkers. So they have this He-Man strength when they're closing and opening doors and when they're walking around like the demon in unit 55. But at the same time, they would, and it's not persuasive. You're looking at what is the proof of the demon possessed, okay? And under all circumstances, it's stalking by the elderly at Woodside. That's a crime scene. And also AVANATH Capital Management, that is also gang stalking in concert with the people of the state and through the people of the state, while it is also profiting, which is not only criminal, but it is against public policy. This is the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. And this is what I was continuously documenting as I was using the PDF document WSA-the people. And the demon is engaging what is prolonged, now incessant. And that's because the demon knows what I'm doing on a device. You also know about what it is that I'm describing, about what a demon-possessed person knows based on the specific environment. It is as supernatural, and you are able to recognize their behavioral patterns, what they're doing, based on the supernatural environment. And that is the ability to do so. And it is also the deduction of intent, and it's criminal intent to obstruct justice. Moreover, when you're engaged in surveillance on a communication device, because that's what that's getting to. What I'm doing on my device shall not be a matter of information that the government is surveying and monitoring and keeping tabs on. They don't have a warrant or probable cause to do it. They don't have a warrant or probable cause to do it vicariously through a demon-possessed population that's residing at a crime scene, masquerading as a private residential area, which it is not. You also know that because a fake sun remains over the apartment building where I am at, where I am establishing that stalkers are remaining at that crime scene and have been stripped of their First Amendment constitutional rights to do so. You're not in a private residence. You're not at home. You're not protected under the Constitution. You're not also free. Not only are you not free to be there, but they're also engaging in what is the ongoing evidence that they're there through the ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. And they do so with impunity while they are moreover monitoring evidence in violation of the federal stalking statute. And it's all state action. The entity is doing so while it is not only monitoring the evidence, but again, increasingly so. So the entity is acting with an intent to psychologically torture while it is engaged in federal stalking, and it is gang stalking by living and working and visiting and flying over and also living in the unit with me. This is the people of the state. All right. So the entity is engaged in the P.O.C. when you're understanding the specific environment where there is no place of belonging. That's traditional stalking, where you cannot be convicted of stalking where you live. This is not traditional stalking. This is a malicious government system that, again, likes to use presuppose that the rules of stalking would apply. And that does not apply, because you're understanding what is malice, where the government is able to maintain presence around you, and presence is stalking. Stalking without your knowledge and consent. Stalking without any lawful authority, and doing so through a psychologically harmful means, such as incessant noise level. And it is also uncharacteristic of the elderly. And this is what is also making the demon possessed very obvious. And so everyone inside of units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison based on what is already the fully exposed system of federal group stalking and monitoring. This is documentation that I'm going to add on with regard to what is as of 6:30 p.m. It's currently 7:59 p.m. And the demon in unit number 55 is acting as an entity. The entity is engaged in what is ongoing, prolonged, amplified audible noise in concert with the demons that are surrounding in units number 50, 52, 54, 56, and they are all going to prison. But I just want to be clear, this is, again, a human being that is making a calculated assessment based on the impossibility, first of all, that any of them are creating what is noise that's going to reverberate inside of the apartment while they close their front doors. Okay. Second of all, I'm making that calculated assessment because the demons that are on the opposite side of the apartment building are also not going to make any sort of noise that's going to reverberate inside of the apartment. No demon on the opposite side of this apartment in units 33 through 48 are going to create any reverberating amplified noise while they close their front doors. But it's the same with the demon of 52. It's not going to. But nevertheless, they are the ones that are attached to this apartment. And I put that in air quotes because it's actually attached at what is the kitchen wall area. There's a staircase in between the porch areas. You can see there's a clear separation of the structures. Nonetheless, this is prosecuting based on what's demonic. It's demonic on its face. In other words, that's what I'm saying. It defies nature. It's supernatural. It's as supernatural as what you've already seen. Proof of what I've already shown. The fake sun sitting over the apartment buildings where they are established stalkers is also supernatural. Sunlight beaming through horizontally through a peephole of a front door at all hours of the day is at any time of the day, and also all hours of the day, is also supernatural. It is also supernatural that you have multiple upright shadows while a sun is over your head. That's not the product of sunlight. That has multiple angles of light coming at all manner of directions while I have a shadow on the ground, which you would expect, but it's also both in front of you and behind you. It's also upright and above you, and it's also on the ceiling over your head. That also is supernatural. So I have already given the evidence showing that everything everything that the stalkers are doing while they are outside of the bounds of the Constitution, fully exposed to a federal prosecution under existing law and laws that shall be used to prosecute predators and domestic terrorists like the elderly at Woodside Senior Apartments, based on the body of evidence of what encompasses the P.O.C. This is all government action. The entity is doing so while it is also engaged in federal stalking, monitoring my evidence. And that's why you have, at the moment at 6:30 p.m., when I began typing, the demon in Unit 55 graduates from just one boom at 6:24, another boom at 6:27, to ongoing incessant pacing and booming shared by the demons in Units 50, 52, 54, 56, and 55, and the demons in the parking lot who are creating noise reminiscent of loud gunshots, while I'm naming demons like Linda Reyes, who are being prosecuted because I am documenting her as an employee of the venue that is not going to be removed because of any day off. You're going to federal prison and you're acting with the entity that is residing at the venue, that is coming onto the grounds of the venue, that is acting directly gang stalking at the venue while you are an employee. A gang stalking community manager that is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment is one that is going to federal prison, and she acts with impunity while I continuously document her. And I'm referencing again Linda Reyes, who you have seen gang stalking me under the fake sun during the 10 a.m. hour. She is fully engaged in this P.O.C. and she also knows every time that I utter her name, this is the reality of the government targeting you, and the government targeting you with the population, all of whom are engaged in federal stalking. And therefore, Linda Reyes is communicating an enthusiasm for going to federal prison because Linda Reyes, via the entity that she's gang stalking, continuously engages in psychological torture and stalking with noise, which is terrorism that she's going to prison for. Okay, like any other terrorist. Okay, this is speaking to the P.O.C. and as of, it's 8:03 p.m., but I've been documenting. I tried to record this earlier, but again, it stopped recording, so I'm going through it again. But the entire time that I was recording, the entity was maintaining amplified noise. So this is ongoing, prolonged documentation regarding what is first of all, number one, monitoring of evidence. The state government is peering in on, keeping under surveillance, interfering with the creation of and the access to evidence that belongs to the federal government. Okay, and this is where the entity is making up the corrupt courts who are engaged in gang stalking and the conspiracy to murder and kidnap. And this is why you cannot get redress in the courts. While the entity is engaging in what is monitoring evidence and is engaged in the pattern of conduct of obstruction by psychological torture, the demons outside of the apartment, the demons in the parking lot, the demons driving around, pacing around the venue, the demons that are flying over, the demons that are living at the venue in close proximity, i.e. demons 33 through 64, they're going to prison for that. They are acting on behalf of an entity that just, all they do is come onto the grounds and come around to aid in the elements of monitoring while they remain on a 24-hour basis, engaging in teamwork-like conduct. And that's why your day off is not a removal from the evidence that's going to be presented against you regarding how long you belong in federal prison for the impunity that you exhibited when you didn't care about how many years you were getting in federal prison. Okay, you didn't care then, but you're going to care when it is recounted to you in federal court. The impunity, in other words, that you acted with. And it is shared by witches like Tracy Banks, who are monitoring with Eric Corey Spencer on her communication device. This is not a coincidence when I'm referencing the demons who are gang stalking by name, and that includes Eric Corey Spencer, who is then on her communication device. This is the malice of a bunch of psychopaths who are engaged in the P.O.C. Eric Spencer is going to federal prison. Okay, this is an incestuous sex offender. I'll repeat it again, worshiping my genitalia, somebody that I'm blood related to. I'm not interested in any sexual contact and any sexual attention, but this is a demon-possessed gang stalker, not an actual family member. This is a demon. This is a terrorist that conspired to murder me with his witch mother, and doing so while they thought that they were going to profit off of it and then go to a funeral for me and act as though that they were grieving, okay, at which they were planning to garner attention from. Okay, these are attention whores. These are violent sex offenders. These are predators, and these are stalkers that are targeting their own relative. I just want you to hear the coward that gets quiet when she knows I hold my phone up. They're all going to prison. Okay, they're all going to prison. The fake son, period, you're going to prison. But like I said, the demon is getting louder as I'm referencing. Let me state it again. Eric Corey Spencer, his license plate JABO, he's going to federal prison. Okay. I mean, he's going to federal prison for conspiring to murder his own sister, for being a violent sex offender, for conspiring with his demon-possessed mother, to murder his sister. Any gang stalking relative is going to prison. That's what Eric Spencer's prosecution, that's what Tracy Banks's prosecution is going to train the American public to understand. They're going to federal prison for that. They're going to federal prison because what the state of California is doing, the state of California is doing it on their behalf. Okay, this is why the government is stalking, because the gang stalking relatives presented me as some sort of opportunity to gain something. The entity sought to gain something. And so this is the significance of the Woodside Senior Apartments community, who together engage in the ritualistic conduct of monitoring my genitalia. Every time I spread my legs apart, they are salivating. They are frenzied. They are psychopaths in the same way that they monitor every syllable that comes out of my mouth. They are monitoring and paying very close attention to my genitalia between my legs. And they are also doing so while they are blood related sex offenders and predators. Okay, who masturbate and engage in sex rituals with each other as a part of their witchcraft practices while they're practicing the satanic system of federal group stalking and monitoring. That's government public officials. That's the civilian population that comes like Uber Eats demonstrated, coming onto the grounds, gang stalking with the same demons in units 33 through 64. They're going to federal prison. And so is Eric Corey Spencer, engaging in the P.O.C. by being on Tracy Banks's device, sharing in the elements of monitoring, and doing so with a high level of malice and impunity. He's going to federal prison for a very long time. And that is justice, because he planned for me to be dead at this point and never be able to testify against him in federal court. So that's why you're going to federal prison for a prolonged term. All right. And the entity's criminal acts of obstruction of justice is going to be used against Eric Corey Spencer. The ongoing impunity of the government and acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping me is going to be used against Eric Corey Spencer. And every defamatory word that he spoke in these gang stalking courts is also why he's going to federal prison. That's the ongoing entity's intent to kidnap and upon criminal defamation, which is also why he's going to federal prison. I want to be clear. The demon in unit number 55 is gang stalking with Eric Corey Spencer while he's on her communication device. Tracy Banks' phone records are means of evidence to be used against her and the state of California. It is federal stalking, surveillance conduct while they're literally engaging in the elements of monitoring. Her phone conversation is audible noise while demons are pacing all around outside of the apartment and in the apartment buildings. They're all monitoring me together while they're all monitoring evidence that is, legally speaking, belonging to the federal government. So in many ways, the population and the government itself that is entirely corrupt is going to be put in its place. Okay, all manner of lawlessness is being exposed and addressed by this system of federal group stalking and monitoring, and the entity that engages in more acts of violence, the more that it is documented, those type of murderous personalities, they belong in straitjackets. They belong in federal prison. That's exactly where they belong. Okay. And so I am speaking on an ongoing basis regarding what those before me who are already dead, they didn't get to tell anyone about it. Okay. And they very likely didn't have a body of evidence in order to prove it while they were being targeted by predators like those that live at Woodside Senior Apartments. They are the people of the state. They are a demon-possessed, gang-stalking relatives who would trade you for insurance money, okay? This is criminal activity that's already proven on paper. You're talking about what is a matter of time before it's in court. It's a substance of the federal prosecution. And everybody gang-stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments, including AVANATH Capital Management, is acting in furtherance of a sex offender's agenda to try to profit off of my demise. Okay, this is what they're gang stalking with, and you will be going to federal prison for everything that you are engaged in, claiming that you were ignorant, that the target individual's mother raped her, that the target individual was sex trafficking her, that the target individual, her mother was trying to murder her, that the target individual was acting in furtherance of kidnapping, that you didn't know that the police were going to do that or that they did that already. All of it's legally irrelevant. You're going to federal prison for it. All right. This is the purpose of federal group stalking and monitoring, and the American public is also going to learn that the American public is going to be educated with regard to how much you will lose if you want to help the government that's targeting American citizens. You will lose your welfare check. You will lose your kids. You will lose your housing benefits. You will lose where you live. You will lose that clean record so you can't get another job if and ever you get out of federal prison. When the American public understands how much they will lose, they will think twice before acting with witches like Tracy Banks, who put their daughter up for money. Okay, and that's because she wants to be me. All right, the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct with impunity. It's 8:11 p.m. while this demon has 6:24 p.m. So that's approximately maybe like an hour, over an hour. You have what is almost an hour and a half. The entity is engaging in what is pacing. This is a 600 square foot apartment. She's not going anywhere. She was pacing with the vacuum, which is again the uncharacteristic behavior of the elderly who are engaging in that pattern of conduct. So the more that I document, the more that you're seeing how it is, first of all, a P.O.C. That you are recognizing in that specific environment, but you're also able to recognize it because the entity is engaging in that which is very much uncharacteristic of old biddies who should be asleep already. But while I'm documenting the demon in apartment 55 at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 1 o'clock in the morning, at 4:30 in the morning, at 6 a.m., right where I am at, right above me on the couch, with simultaneity to whatever it is that I might be doing, including documenting. This demon does not sleep. Her job, while she doesn't have an actual job, her job is to aid demons like Tracy Banks, who doesn't sleep either. Okay. And while Eric Corey Spencer's in Oakland, California, he's being documented on an ongoing basis with regard to what he exacted against his relative with regard to murdering her. While the state continuously targets me, he is being subject to federal prison for it. All right. And he acts with impunity and malice in doing so. And that psychopath is going to be put away for the predator that he is. One that's engaging in incestuous sexual attention toward in a manner that is unwelcome. Like, I don't welcome these relatives of mine watching my genitalia on camera, on putting it on the internet and making money off of it. They're going to prison for that. But they're also violent sex offenders who are, again, Satan has made them perverts, think that they're deriving some sort of spiritual power over me, and period, because they're watching my genitalia, studying it. No, they're merely sex offenders. And Satan has them defeated. Satan has them, not defeated. Satan has them deceived. Okay, they are fully defeated with regard to my exposing the perverted conduct of the demon possessed and their criminal activity. All right, the entity is engaging in this ongoing pattern of conduct, and I want to make sure that it's clear. Tracy Banks's phone records remain a part of the evidence. The security cameras at every venue, which you will understand since day one when I was documenting. Every time I go to a grocery store, every time that I'm at traffic cameras, every time I walk into a gang stalking Starbucks, everywhere that I'm at, there are cameras there, and it is a means of documentation that the targeted individual possesses to prosecute. That's the same with Woodside Senior Apartments. Okay. The entity engaging in this ongoing malicious act of acting in furtherance of murder and showing such a violent attitude toward an American citizen. These are showing sex offenders and murderers who, first of all, they're old as dirt, so they have decades practicing the wicked. But I want to be clear, the more that I documented as of 6:30 p.m., the louder that the activity creation got. And that is, again, understand, this is analogous to the threat. Analogous to a threat in the same way that you would analyze a traditional stalking and the ex-boyfriend, even though with gang stalkers, you don't have to have any personal relationship. That's the significance of the government targeting you. That's the malice behind it. But even under traditional stalking, let's say where the stalker would tend to leave a teddy bear at the front door, a teddy bear with a knife in the stomach of that teddy bear, and the person that's being stalked is always discovering them at their front door. The entity is, the plaintiff in that case would be enforcing their rights against the defendant stalker with regard to what is a communication of a threat. You're understanding the threat based on not only the physical act of stalking, but the things that they are doing with regard to how they are targeting, how they are communicating through the conduct, the behaviors that they engage in. And while I am exhibiting while the entity is exhibiting a high level of malice by gang stalking where they live, you need to understand that that's a threat to the life of the target individual at the outset. All right. And you are recognizing stalking by the specific environment because there is no sun that is ever over Woodside while it's stationary over Alvarado in Los Angeles. Okay. That's recognizing demons who are stalking conspicuously and inconspicuously. They do so in order to murder you and get away with it. This is an inherent threat to my life at the outset. Number two, they are engaged in a program of psychological torture. And the louder that their monitoring conduct gets, the more that they interfere with quiet enjoyment for a criminal purpose, the more of a threat is communicated to the ordinary targeted individual. And this is analogous to any sort of analysis that would exist with regard to analyzing traditional stalking and the threats that the stalker communicates intentionally and maliciously. All right. This is speaking to the ongoing amplified noise, the pacing by the demon that then starts pacing with the vacuum, the demons that are surrounding in units 52, 51, excuse me, well, yes, 51, she came back, but 52, 50, 56, and 54, all slamming their doors and banging noises outside. Loud dogs barking, ongoing banging noises outside, reminiscent of the sound of gunshots as I begin typing about the federal imprisonment of Linda Reyes, who was very much being documented for time in federal prison as an employee at this venue that's engaged in domestic terrorism and psychological torture, which shall not be limited by your work schedule. I don't care where she could have went to the Montclair Plaza Mall tonight. She's being documented simultaneously. She's going to federal prison for it. And that's exactly why she's going to federal prison. All right, because the entity is engaged in an ongoing communication of a threat. Linda Reyes likes to threaten the federal prosecutor. She's a fool. She's got baboon poo for brains, and she's going to federal prison for even longer. Okay, that's the likes of those that are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And while doing so, Eric Corey Spencer is being documented. It's being weighed how long he belongs in federal prison. And I want to be clear, in the same way that Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer sought to murder me, they belong in prison. They belong in a mental asylum for the rest of their lives, because mine was supposed to be sacrificed. All right. I just want to point that out. The entity is engaged in what is ongoing amplified noise as I'm referencing the baboon poo for brains regarding Linda Reyes. She is going to federal prison, and she's going to federal prison for even longer for the ongoing communication of a threat through the ongoing increased volume and the prolonged term of amplified noise, which is interfering with quiet enjoyment for a criminal purpose, where Woodside Senior Apartment's whole existence is serving the state system of federal group stalking and monitoring. That is supporting the shutdown of the entire apartment complex, by the way, and the removal of the AVANATH Capital Management, the landlord. I just want to be clear, this is how domestic terrorism is going to be treated in the United States. AVANATH Capital Management has more than one property in California. It is, upon prosecution, going to be established as a domestic enemy. You don't maintain any right to keep a business as a management company as a domestic enemy. You don't have any constitutionally protected right to do so, and it is a basis to remove them from the ability to participate in any federal housing programs and also to maintain any properties. But like I said, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C., and it is an ongoing communication of a threat while the demon is still in apartment 55, amplifying stomping, as though stomping is going to remove her from the mental asylum where she's going to, as though stomping above me, which is amplified criminal monitoring of evidence with the intent to obstruct justice with simultaneity. A psychopath that both worships my genitalia, just like what she knows. She's worshiping my genitalia. Okay? Worships it. While she is monitoring evidence, as though stomping above my head is going to keep Linda Reyes out of federal prison. I'm going to let you know now, she's going to federal prison for even longer. This is an entity that is threatening together, stalking together, monitoring together, obstructing justice together, in the same way that they criminally defame together, in the same way that they engage in kidnapping together. This is why you have an apartment complex under a fake sun for the duration of the day, and you have a whole population. The demon with the Arizona plates, MARMMAK, stalking in the path with hazard lights while psychological torture of an audible means is underway inside of the apartment building. The demon of Uber Eats, stalking in the path with hazard lights under the fake sun while the ongoing pattern of psychological torture and an audible means is underway inside of the apartment complex. This is why you have the entity doing so in concert with the gang stalking police, also arriving in a manner that's perceptible, that is, while I document the people of the state. You're going to prison for that. Linda Reyes is not going to stay outside of any federal cell based on the weight of the evidence that I have against her. And this is the same analysis regarding the evidence against an entity that's going to be used against them individually in federal court. Now, you're gang stalking with an unemployed demon over 55, clearly with nobody that cares about her and nothing to lose. And you're going to federal prison for even longer for targeting someone, a federal prosecutor, with the likes of that. Okay, she's got baboon poo for brains. You're gang stalking with that, and that is going to get you in federal prison for even longer. That's what's going to teach the American public that it's not worth targeting an American citizen with the government that does not help you. It incriminates you. The government can't help itself in federal court, because I have a lot of them that are going to federal prison. All right. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. The Ontario International Airport is being shut down as I continuously document the government through the demons that are gang stalking as a way of life while at this Woodside Senior Apartments apartment complex, because that's what's going on. This is P.O.C. headquarters, and you have a bunch of psychopaths that can't afford to pay their rent, but they're energetic enough to engage in domestic terrorism, sacrificing where they live, their children, and their liberty in order to engage engage in focusing on me, which is the reality of the demon possessed, not going to work and minding their business and making deliveries and making sure that everything is here and making sure that I accomplish this and making sure that I'm concerned with no, the demon possessed, which fill the state of California, are actually consumed with those that they're targeting, those that are not like them. That's what Satan is consumed with, and that's what's actually the focus. While you have been conditioned to think that you need to be focused on this and that and attaining this and getting this and accomplishing this and looking like this and presenting this way and living here and making this much money and dressing this way and presenting myself this way, and it's a distraction to what actually matters, while Satan is very focused. He's very focused, as the demon-possessed gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments prove. Because this is the reality of what's going on. A whole population is gang stalking, and they're shopping at 7-Eleven across the street, mindful of what I'm saying while I'm documenting them on the phone. And that's just the reality of how detailed and how obsessive the demon-possessed are. All right, you have an apartment complex, catty corner to Woodside Senior Apartments, and they're gang stalking where they live as a means of monitoring me, not living their lives and minding their business. And this is the reality. And you know that because an entire fake sun remains over me at this apartment complex. And I documented that at Alvarado Gardens, where a fake sun remained over me at that apartment complex, where the government also engaged in the hallmark of stalking me and harassing me in helicopters. It is literally that specific. Everybody in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison. Linda Reyes is documentation in this podcast threatening me while I'm naming her. The entity is acting as one engaged in harassment. She's going to federal prison for that. You're not going to threaten any federal prosecutor. You're not going to interfere with any federal investigation. You're not going to obstruct justice by doing so and using psychological torture as a means to impede on that federal investigation. You're not going to do that. And that's exactly what Linda Reyes is being prosecuted for, while the evidence of what an entity commits together engages in an ongoing infliction of amplified noise activity in order to monitor me and communicate a threat, which is what they've been engaged in for a prolonged period. It's currently 8:23 p.m. and the incestuous sex offender Tracy Banks is inside of her bedroom, turning her TV louder and laughing like a delusional psychopath. She's going to be laughing in a straitjacket in a mental asylum where she's never getting out. All right. It is currently 8:23 p.m. This is documentation of federal group stalking and monitoring. And it is also documentation of criminal obstruction of justice, which serves as an enhancement to everybody's term in federal prison. This is criminal activity by an entity. It's going to be used against the government, documented directly. It's going to be used against the entity that's acting as one, but everybody is being prosecuted. All of the demons in units 33 through 64, in other words, everybody in unit number 55 is going to be prosecuted under the body of evidence. It's going under that demon's name. She's going to be accountable for everything that was underway in order to act in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping me. And that is the weight of federal group stalking and monitoring, while one person is going to be held accountable, while they together target as an entity one person. This one person is going to prosecute every single last one of these demons. All right, it's 8:24 p.m. All right, this is my second attempt at trying to record this. This is a prolonged means of criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. So civilly speaking, AVANATH Capital Management is also being prosecuted for that ongoing gang stalking that it is as a company engaging in the same way that you saw Uber Eats gang stalking, in the same way that I have a body of evidence of actors such as FedEx, UPS, Amazon Prime, any sort of, I used to get deliveries by Vons to my apartment. They were gang stalking with the LAPD, with the people of the state. This is what the entity is doing on an ongoing basis. So the entity is acting with the population who comes onto the grounds. These are corrupt means of maintaining the elements of monitoring under the guise of a logo that is exposing corrupt businesses who are engaged in federal stalking, who are engaging in the sex offense of criminal monitoring and federal group stalking and monitoring with the people of the state, wherever it is that I remain. All right, the entity is doing so with impunity as well, also with an intent to obstruct justice. All right, so the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct and is doing so in concert with what is Eric Corey Spencer, whose license plate again JABO, and Eric Corey Spencer is going to federal prison for taking the poor advice of his demon-possessed mother, who was going to put him in federal prison. His own decisions, his poor decisions, put him in prison, but it's a poor decision because you have a demon-possessed mother
who's delusional with laughter, which is her audible activity. It's very sad, and the evidence against her is going to show how everything that she has done has been focused on me. She's been a sex predator since I was a child. She is still focused on me right now, and nothing in her life is actually about her. She doesn't know who she is, and I'm not afraid to speak the truth about this demon, who is a mental case, and she is in need of severe attention while she is engaged in federal group stalking monitoring by being on her phone monitoring me, by turning up her television and laughing incessantly at that which she's not even focused on. And that's the behavior of a psychopath, by the way. She lives under the fake sun. She lives amongst the engineered light. She lives with amongst the same demons who are stalking with regard to every video that I'm capturing. This is what she has solicited. This is what she's been engaged in since I was a child, by the way. And this is why she's going into a mental asylum. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 8:26 p.m. That's called malice. And this is what is the government is cooperatively engaging in. All right. It is currently 8:26 p.m. This is the P.O.C. regarding obstruction of justice, and also the impunity with which a stalker that is masquerade. Satan is using Tracy Banks. She's literally a meat suit. She lost her mind decades ago. And she thought that she was going to murder me and then replace me. Okay. And she engaged in a lot of this, which is also evidence that's going to be used against her, by literally having sex with everyone that I know while she was engaged in participating in a sex cult. And a psychopath just engages in what is laughter, incessant laughter, because Satan is the type of person that is delusional and thinks that laughter makes them look normal, or though they're unfazed, and it doesn't. You look like a psychopath. You look mentally disturbed, and that's what's wrong with her, because she's listening to everything that I'm saying. That's the reality. But anyway, it's currently 8:27 p.m. It's Sunday, February 23rd, 2025, and this is POC.